A brand new season of GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup begins here at Brands Hatch this weekend. Glorious weather for qualifying on Saturday and a full grid of 34 cars set to do battle on a truly iconic British circuit, formerly the home of the British Grand Prix and still a circuit that is widely regarded by drivers as a real challenge. The undulating Indy circuit plus the daunting Grand Prix loop make this a really testing circuit for both man and machine. And we are set for two stunning races this weekend with a quality driver lineup. The importance of qualifying can never be overestimated here, and nor can good pit stops. You can win or lose at Brands Hatch, courtesy of your pit crew. In GT World Challenge, we run not only in Europe, but Australia, America and Asia as well. Aston Martin, one of the key brands in the championship, taking on Audi, still capable of winning races. The BMW M4 is a car with a good pedigree around Brands Hatch. In the Endurance Championship, Chevrolet enters its Corvette, and Ferraris abound, whether it's in sprint or endurance. Another endurance car, the Ford Mustang. And no GT grid would be complete without Lamborghini, the new Temerario developing all the time. There are plenty of rapid McLarens here this weekend to take on Mercedes-AMG, the most winning brand around Brands Hatch. And Porsche should not be overlooked either, with a Porsche on pole for both races. It's been a busy start to the season in GT World, with Phillip Island playing host to GT World Challenge Australia, Mercedes taking valuable global manufacturer points. At Sonoma in America, longer races this year in GT World Challenge in America, and Porsche taking victory. Sepang was where GT World Challenge Asia kicked off with more exciting racing, and the European Championship began at Paul Ricard, a 6-hour race going into the darkness. Lance Stroll was on the grid. Max Verstappen was on hand to oversee his Verstappen Racing Mercedes-AMG, and it was a dramatic start to the race with Robin Knutsen's Porsche bouncing off the barriers and triggering an early safety car. The Mercedes-AMG of Lucas Stoltz, Maro Engel and Lucas Auer dominated the race, but a late race safety car did for their chances. When we went green again in the final 20 minutes, the car just didn't turn on enough, and this little mistake by Auer running wide at senior allowed the Aston Martin through into the lead of Mattia Drudi, Nicky Tim and Marco Sorensen. It would win the race, bouncing back from an early puncture that delayed it. The Circuit of the Americas played host to the next action in GT World Challenge America. And some great racing between Porsche and Mercedes-AMG, both looking for valuable manufacturer points in that global competition. Pole position had gone to Mercedes, but a race win to the Pro-Am class Porsche of Dave Musial and Ryan Yardley. The Michael Stevens, Mikael Grenier Mercedes-AMG was second and took a Pro category win, Ferrari taking AM honours. And this weekend, there's been action at Mandalika in GT World Challenge Asia. A fantastic circuit and more great racing. Sean Galal's Ferrari had qualified on pole position for the first race, and there was action all the way. Cars colliding, others scattering in avoidance. And a safety car was always going to change the result. In the end, it was a 1-2 for Audi. Frankie Cheng and Kuai Yu coming home victorious ahead of Jackson Evans and Andres Pato. An Audi win is quite something these days. A 1-2 result, even more dramatic. And other brands, as you see, fell foul of the dramatic racing around Mandalika. Much to celebrate for Audi, a 1-2 finish, meaning valuable points in the global manufacturers competition. And so Porsche it is that leads the global manufacturer standings from Mercedes-AMG, Ferrari third from Audi, and then BMW. So, welcome to Brands Hatch. David Addison and Peter Dumbreck are trackside. And Peter, what a track Brands Hatch is.
It's a fantastic track. It's one of the original in the UK. We've got an onboard here of Paddock Hill Bend. You see the car in front. Stomach sinks to the bottom here. Run the car out wide up to Druid's Corner. Hit your first apex or slightly away from that one. Hit the second one. Nice wide exit down the hill. Down to Graham Hill Bend. Quite a simple corner, this one. You've got to run the car right wide over the green for a clean exit. Braking and turning into Surtees. Hook up a late apex here, then we're going up the hill. And a bit of a straight now to Hawthorne's Bend, one of the fastest on the track. Maximum commitment down into Hawthorne's. You see a small break and then turn the car in, try and get that apex, pick up the power now, nice wide exit out. And then we've got Westfield down into Dingle Dongle Dell. And then we're going to rise up to Sheen Curve. This is a re-profile over the years. It used to be a lot tighter. Into Stirling's. See the camber here, a little bit of dust on the inside, nice wide exit to the curb. Then final corner, clearways coming up. Very important to get this right so that we can pick up maximum speed round down into Brabham Straight, which isn't really a straight, it's a curve the whole way.
So that is a lap of Brands Hatch. Perhaps what the onboard camera doesn't show is just how much elevation there is around this nearly 4 kilometre long circuit. Peter mentioned that plunge down through Paddock Hill Bend. You climb up the other side through Druids. It's 9 corners in total around the Grand Prix circuit here. But in terms of the elevation, well, it's got not just cambered corners, it's just got some climbs. There are your 3 sectors, but you can see in a moment on the graphic just how much elevation there is. The Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit then, which is celebrating 100 years. It began as a grass track anti-clockwise circuit, an elevation range of 42.3 metres, a maximum camber of 7.2 degrees. So welcome to a sunny Brands Hatch. All the talk of threats of rain appear to have gone by the board, which is good to see. And we've had a look around the lap. Peter gets 10 euros for channeling his inner Gabriele Tarquini and talking about Dingle-a-Dongle-a-Dell, which is how the great Gabriele used to refer to that part of the circuit. But it is a real challenge. And there are lots of drivers, even though they've raced at the high level, like at Le Mans, for example, this weekend, who are coming to Brands for the first time and getting out of cars, Peter, wide-eyed about a proper old-school circuit.
That's right. You know, you can see from yourself, Ramon, the shot above the circuit is a narrow track. So compared to one of the modern kind of even Silverstone or Paul Ricard, much wider circuit. So there's not much scope for having 3 cars wide here, for instance. And if you do, then you're going to take a lot of risk. It's a tight circuit. Overtaking will be difficult here. Paddock Hill is one of the corners, Druids another corner where you're going to have to brake a little bit harder. So they're probably the 2 main overtaking spots I would have thought. But it's a fantastic circuit to drive as a driver, and we've got a lot of cars on track, so it's going to be a tight race.
So we're looking down at Paddock Hill Bend. The grid is full. It is 34 cars. We have, of course, the Pro Cup. We have also gold, and we have silver. And we'll come to the classes in more detail in due course. There's no bronze this weekend, not because there aren't any entries, but there aren't enough garages. We just can't have quite that many cars here because there's nowhere to put them. We've already got a couple of teams that are kind of camping out, if you like, without a garage to operate from. There just wouldn't be space to have bronze, but 34 around here is going to be certainly very spectacular indeed. Big crowd on hand as well. The fans find themselves on the cameras, and looking forward then to our first race, and with the drivers will be getting into the cars shortly. Very sad news though greeted everybody at Brands Hatch yesterday when we woke up to the sad news of the death of Alex Zanardi, who of course was a driver not only in Formula 1 but was an IndyCar hero, and passed away last night. He was a Paralympic gold medal as well, and the paddock joins in a moment of silence for him.
This has been such a special place for me. I can remember back in '91 when I first came and I won the pole position in a Formula 3000 car, sharing the front row with Damon Hill. I finished on the podium in WTCC in 2009. Then I lived some very special days in 2012. It's funny because with a race car I never really realized that this place is so hilly. We were going in the opposite direction in our Olympic cycling course, and coming up Paddock Hill was incredibly hard. With a race car, you know, it's kind of easy. To have more than 500 horsepower under your trunk definitely helps. All the turns are very tricky, very difficult, especially this one, Paddock Hill. which is blind. When you sit in your race car, you don't really see where you should put your wheels, and when you see the curb, it's actually too late. It's pretty understandable that this place means a lot to me, and I got a great car underneath me, and I'm going to drive it to the best of my ability.
Alex Zanardi raced here in cars, and of course it was at Brands Hatch that he took that Paralympic gold medal in cycling. Peter, he was a very special man.
Yeah, I mean, so many races, so many different categories he took part in, successful in everything. I remember well the big crash in Lausitzring, a circuit that I used to race at in DTM, so I knew it well, and to have recovered from that and come back to racing again, it was an end to go on to become Olympic champion, you know, quite inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely so. He, of course, returned to race in the World Touring Car Championship in the forerunner to what we have today, what was then the Blancpain Sprint Series for GT cars, and a lot of people will remember him fondly and miss him hugely. On the grid, the teams prepare for our opening Sprint Cup race. Lots of fans here, not only to see the cars and the action, but also to see Valentino Rossi, because, as we were discussing yesterday, he's back for a full season of GT World Challenge Europe, and now very much regarded as a GT racer, not a former motorbike racing champion.
Well, that's as time goes on and new generations come up to start watching him, then yeah, you're right, they only really will remember him as a GT racer rather than the bike racer. But it's funny how you see the young sons of obvious bike fans from the years, and they're all wearing Valentino Rossi gear, so they're reminded by their parents who he was back in his old life of being world champion on a bike.
You've just seen the silver pole position car, Mathis Leesmann's WRT BMW, third on the grid. Fantastic achievement. And in the background, the gold pole to Dylan Pereira for Trezor Attempto Racing. The overall pole position to Ricardo Feller for this opening race, his fourth pole. The third sprint pole position for Porsche, first one since Zandvoort 2023. Which was the weekend that Ricardo Feller, as an Audi driver, won the championship. And the first outright pole for Lion Speed, which is having its first season operating a car in Pro Cup. Verstappen.com looking ready with Chris Lallam, with his jacket on, at the number 3 Mercedes that he shares with Danny Juncadella. Danny Juncadella is going to be the start driver. That car fourth on the grid. Mercedes yesterday had an odd day. That was always the better car, it seemed, whereas others struggled for pace. Yeah,
you're right. Maro Engel towards the end managed to get his car up for race 2, but yeah, I suppose consistency-wise, the Max Verstappen Red Bull car was the car that was up there all the time. I think from their point of view, perhaps they would have wished for, especially with Juncadella, to be maybe on the front row, but didn't quite make that.
Dorian Boccolacci for Boots and VDS. First time he has raced at Brands Hatch. Like I said earlier on, it seems odd in the sense you've got people that have raced at the high level, you know, race at Le Mans, for example, and then they come here and they're Brands Hatch rookies. But Boccolacci and the Porsche will be one to watch. That car starting 6th on the grid. Maurice Schuring will be the start driver in that car, but 6th is where it will be on this grid. So very shortly, we'll get drivers on board cars. It's a 1-hour race. Pit window, usual format, 25 to 35 minutes. But because how cramped the pit lane is, there are going to be staggered windows. So a different time slot for Pro and Gold, and a second one for Silver. 5-minute pit window, effectively, per class. So as we are set to go racing here, one of the drivers on the grid is SRO GT Academy winner Gaspar Simon. It's time we heard from him. And also welcome to GT World, Nina Jade Paul.
Gaspar, your first ever race here at Brands Hatch. How are you feeling?
A lot of stressful, to be honest, because it's my first one in sprint, very particularly championship. We don't have time in the driver change and driver pit stop for the team, so very particularly for me, but I want to take a lot of pressure in the car and let's see what we can do during the race.
You and your teammate have a bit of a mountain to climb this afternoon. There's no threat of rain anymore. Were you hoping for some chaos?
Yeah, we will see what we can do. Maxime is a rookie like me in Brands Hatch. He have a lot of experience from the past in Endurance Championship, but not in Sprint Championship. We are a very rookie lineup, so let's see what we can do, but take a pleasure in first after the result come.
You won the SRO GT Academy prize. How does it feel to be living your prize now?
For me, it's very, very good to be the first because that's the only year that we have one winner of the SRO GT Academy. And for me, it's very special to be the ambassador and to have the honor to represent the SRO GT Academy in all the world. In a championship like the GT World Challenge, yeah, it's so special for me to be the first.
Well, thank you. Go well today.
Thanks a lot.
That car that Gaspard Simon shares is one of the Valkenhorst Motorsport Astons. Maxime Robin will start it. It's Maxime Robin's time, and it's actually the last car on the grid. They've got work to do. That's Valentino Rossi, as you see. He will start, and he will start from 8th on the grid for Team WRT. He starts to get ready and get on board the car. The gold pole position car is alongside him. Dylan Pereira starting for Tresor Attempto Racing. Silver pole, as I mentioned earlier, Mathis Lismore. So the earplugs go in, the intercom to the team so they can hear what's being said. That 5-minute pit window effectively for the classes, reducing what you can do in terms of a strategy to jump out of traffic. And let's get back to the grid though and hear from our pole position driver, because Ricardo Feller is the man that qualified fastest yesterday.
Ricardo, firstly, mega lap yesterday. Congratulations on pole position, and it's the first overall pole position in GT World Challenge for Lion Speed. What have you got to do to keep these cars behind you today?
Stay in front. No, thank you very much. I mean, it was a very good qualifying yesterday to start both races on P1 today. Yeah, it's not too bad, I would say. Very proud of the team. And now we will try to have 2 good races today. And obviously, if you start from pole, you also want to win the race, which is clearly our goal today.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
The point Ricardo Feller makes about staying in front might sound flippant, but he's right, because overtaking's not that easy around here. Now, overnight, there's been a BOP adjustment. The Porsche's now 10 kilos heavier, but even though that's going to slow them a little bit, as long as he converts pole position into the lead at paddock, then a lot of the work is done, because it ain't going to be easy to get past.
Well, that's it. He's got to just, as you say, get that lead into paddock, get his head down, and stay out of trouble and just stay in front of the guys behind him.
On the outside of the front row is Arthur Leclerc, his first front row start in GT World.
Arthur, your first ever front row start in GT World Challenge. We know how tricky it is to overtake out there. Will you be getting your elbows out to try and get that win today?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, outside in Brands Hatch will be quite challenging. We saw it all over the years, so yeah, it will be. I mean, it's a good place to start from. We are front row, so we'll give our everything. Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And Arthur Leclerc shares with Thomas Neubauer, who has been a winner here in the past as well, when he was in the Silver Cup. There's number 99, Dylan Pereira's gold pole clinching Audi. And as we've been hearing overnight, a 1-2 in GT World Challenge Asia for Audis. These cars might not get quite the manufacturer support that they used to, Audi concentrating on Formula One, but in the right hands with experienced teams, they're still competitive cars.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is about GT racing nowadays, is everyone's got a BOP, a balance of performance, and if it's level and good, then you can win with any car. It's simple.
And it's going to be interesting to see how that gets on. Mathis Lismore is on pole in silver. Let's hear from him.
Mathis, silver class pole yesterday. Congratulations on that, on a track where there's no margin for error. What have you got to do to convert this to a win today?
I mean, looking at yesterday, our pace is quite strong in our class especially, so I think if me and Nacho just do our job, I think we have something very good to play. For sure, our main focus is still the silver class. If we can do something overall, sure, but our main focus stays the silver class. I'm gonna fight my way with the top leaders, see what I can do with them. Keep it clean, keep it fun. That's the most important. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. Having a decent, clean way in front. So gonna follow these guys and do my best.
Thank you. Go well.
Thank you.
Mathis Lismore, who came from motocross through the Belgian GT style series, Bell car, and then came to GT World Challenge Europe. His co-driver Ignacio Montenegro, new to GT3 this year, having been a real gun in touring cars, so learning about a different discipline, and they've gelled really nicely as you look down on a really busy grid there.
Yeah, an outside bet of a podium overall, why not? I mean, if they have swift pit work and he stays out of trouble up front, because let's face it, you've got a lot of cars back there and there will be a bit of contact and potential for some shunts. So, yeah, you're in the right end of the field. Try and get yourself clear, try and just get your head down, good pit work, and hopefully let the race come to you.
One driver who does have to get out his elbows is Nicky Thiem, winner at Paul Ricard in the opening endurance race, but he is starting 31st on the grid. Had a dreadful day yesterday, so that's going to be worth watching, as so too is Dylan Pereira, the gold pole winner. He's next on our to hear from list.
Dylan, starting your final preparations to get into the car, what have you got to do today?
Definitely we have to first of all survive, because we also have a second race afterwards, so the car has to stay in one piece, let's say. And now we're starting from pole position in our class, so hopefully we can keep this one, and let's see what we can do overall. But definitely the main aim is to keep our class position and win our class.
Keep it nice and clean. Go well today.
Thank you so much.
Dylan Pereira, who made his name really in Porsches. He's a Porsche Super Cup champion, but proving he's a versatile driver by being able to get good results out of Audis. Carrera Cup Asia champion as well, but he's done a lot of racing in GT cars, not only in GT World Challenge Europe, but also the GT3 class of the World Endurance Championship. Another car to watch will be number 32 BMW, Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde at the wheel of it. It was good in free practice, but only 12th on the grid. There it is. But we know that WRT great on pit work, so they can vault places potentially in that shorter pit window. As I say, it's a 10-minute pit window in the race, but 5 minutes divided each across 5 minutes for the pros and the golds and 5 minutes for silver. The reason being the pit lane otherwise would just be so crowded. It wouldn't really be safe. So the decision taken by Niels Vitic, the race director, to split that just to give a little bit more breathing space in the pit lane. Looking down to the grid, number 111 is the Arthur Rougier James Kell CSA Racing McLaren. Arthur Rougier will start, the very rapid French driver who tends to be player manager as well as not just driving, but also having a major hand in the operation of the team. And a GT3 grid around here is always a spectacular sight, and especially in glorious sunshine like this. Any team that was banking on a wet race to roll the dice, they're disappointed already.
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw the weather coming in later on, but I haven't checked today, but I guess it's coming after the race, so maybe our drive home we're going to get some heavy rain. You know, for the fans, and let's face it, this is one of the best viewing circuits in the country, in the world. The fact that you can literally see the whole of the Indy circuit from one spot here and watch all of the racing, and then you know, you've got the Grand Prix circuit for the drivers as well to go out into the trees. It's a fantastic experience to take these fast corners like Westfield. Yeah, I really am impressed with this track. It's always been one of my favourites.
And it might well be a favourite of Ricardo Feller and Bastien Boost in an hour and a bit's time if they can convert pole position into a race win. A first outright win it would be for Lion Speed if it can be achieved. New to running a Pro Cup Porsche this year, looking down from the drone onto the grid there. Pit crews making their way back to base. Last engineers stay with the cars, ready for the 1 minute board. That's when they'll fire up the engine, close the door, make their way off the grid. And then there will be, of course, a formation lap ready to get our first race of GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup underway. And then it's a real hold your breath moment through Paddock and also through Druids. With this many cars, everybody trying to make up places early on, it's going to be quite hairy.
Absolutely. I mean, I suppose you have got some cars that might be out of place, like Nicky Thiem at the back, and he's going to want to make some progress.
Number 5, McLaren there, having a bit of last-minute work, but the door closes. Mechanic jumps over the pit wall. Whether that's going to get looked at by race control, because the mechanic wasn't off the grid quite when required. We will wait and see. Clearly there was some issue for the number 5 McLaren, but it's now sorted. As Peter rightly says, there are 1 or 2 cars out of position. Nicky Tim, number 7, being an example of them. 69, Ben Green's Ferrari, he shares with Thierry Vermeulen, another that starts a long way down the grid. 17th, 15th on the grid, Lucas Auer starting with Mauro Engel. So yeah, there are lots of cars that we need to keep an eye on. First of all, though, let's just remind you who starts where in terms of the classes, because the individual class pole positions are going to be Dylan Pereira for gold and Mathis Liesmont for silver. But for the overall grid, it's Ricardo Feller who starts on pole position. Arthur Leclerc with him at the front of the grid. Mathis Liesmont starts third from Danny Juncadella, then Consta Lapalainen and Maurice Scheuring. Next up will be Dylan Pereira ahead of Valentino Rossi with Alexei Nessov, Silver Cup Porsche next, and then Tommaso Mosca. Next will be Arthur Rougier. Charles Weerts goes from 12th on the grid. 13th is where you find Tom Fleming with his Gold Cup McLaren alongside his Amaury Cordial. Then Lucas Auer, 15th, a man to watch. Mikey Porter starts the Optimum McLaren, of which there's just been some concern. Then it's Ben Green, another man to watch alongside Robin Knudsen, who went well yesterday in free practice. Aurelian Panis lines up alongside Dean McDonald a bit further back than anticipated. Ariel Levi comes 21st on the grid in the car that was in the barriers in FP1. Lining up alongside him is going to be Jamie Day ahead of Simon Birch and then Jeff Machiels. Jot Ropange will be on the 13th row alongside Loris Cabiru. Then it is Romain Andriolo lining up alongside Oliver Söderström. Luca Engel is only on row 15 alongside Carl Bennett. Nicky Thiem is on row 16 alongside Mattia Michelotto, and Simon Reicher and Maxime Robin round out the grid. So massive variety in terms of the different manufacturers represented on the grid, and there is a really heartening sight, a full grandstand ready to watch the opening laps of the race. This is Valentino Rossi's view, coming through Westfield to drop down through Dingledale, and then the climb to what used to be Dingledale Corner, now Sheen Curve, and Valentino trying to get some warmth into the tyres. Lucas Auer doing likewise. He's got a job on his hands, Lucas Auer, from mid-grid.
Yeah, again, you know, quite a fancied car in this on this grid, but possibly out of starting place. So let's see what their race pace is like and see if they can move up the grid any. And you know, a team like that is going to potentially be very good on the pit stops as well. It's something that all the top teams, they spend quite a bit of time back in the factory working on pit stops to improve, because you can win and lose in this championship quite a lot.
And just to illustrate the importance of pole position around here, 12 times the car on pole has won a Sprint Cup round at Brands Hatch. So that bodes well, certainly, for Ricardo Feller and Bastien Bus, as the cars now make that run down towards Clearways and Clark Curve. The leading car, as it's called, will dive for the pit lane. Then it's up to Ricardo Feller to control the pace on the way up towards the lights, which will change on instruction from the race director. On board with number 59, starting a little bit further back on the grid, Dean McDonald's McLaren. So then, to get the 2026 GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup season underway. Glorious weather, big grid, huge crowd at Brands Hatch. We are ready to go racing. It's Porsche versus Ferrari, two great sports car brands at the front of the grid. Lights go green, we go racing. Danny Juncadella is on his toes, look to try to go around the outside of the Ferrari on the way down towards paddock. He can't do it. It is going to be Ricardo Feller who leads. Arthur Leclerc goes second. Juncadella is third as they climb uphill, dropping back a place. Mathis Liesmont in the BMW, and he's having to go defensive. They've all rounded paddock successfully. Can they all get through Druid? You're on board with Valentino Rossi. It's very, very crowded ahead of him. So far, so good, although you've got Lucas Auer bouncing over the curb. Spinner in the background. I think that's Mattia Michelotto's Lamborghini that has gone around. It is, but look at Ricardo Feller. He's already about 3 lengths clear. Great start from the Porsche.
Absolutely. He seemed to be a little bit slower away than Juncadella behind, but Juncadella got boxed in and couldn't go anywhere, as is the nature of Paddock Hill. It's relatively tight and he had to be a little bit careful, but you see him right up behind the back of Arthur Leclerc's car, and as you say, Feller's got that jump straight away, so if he can just get his head down and let the others fight it out, then hopefully, for him anyway, he can start to just move away into the lead and secure this race from an early stage.
So Ricardo Feller leads then, and as the cars make their way up towards Stirling's for the first time, we're looking at Arthur Leclerc second. It is Danny Juncadella in third place. Mathis Liesmont is fourth. Good battle going on between Aurelian Panis and then there's drama. Robin Knudsen's Porsche hard into the barrier. It bounces into the air. It's going to be in the gravel at Stirling's. That, I fear, is going to be a safety car to get that out of the way as the cars drop now down towards Clearways. On board with Dean McDonald. You're looking at Jot Ropange going around the outside. Safety car is indeed called. Bad news for Feller, but that, I'm afraid, is another hugely disappointing result for the Boutsen VDS team, because the Porsche fired off the road. Robin Knudsen on the opening lap at Paul Ricard was in the wall. On the opening lap at Brands Hatch, he's in the wall. Very
unfortunate. It kind of looked like, yes, he was tagged from behind. We'll get a replay on that, I'm sure. But, yeah, it really didn't look like his fault there. So interesting to see what happened. But very unfortunate start to the season for that car.
Absolutely right, and another rebuild, and they've got to try and do that for race 2. You had drivers on the grid talking about the need to survive because there's another race later on in the day. So, race continues, albeit under controlled conditions. Ricardo Feller now takes stock of the situation, so he had got a good advantage of 1.6 seconds on that opening lap. It's all academic now because they're all going to bunch up behind him, and now this is where race control goes into overdrive, because they've got to try to keep the race running, but they don't want it to be under safety car for too long because it's not really much of a race. Equally, they've got a car to move, and they'll also have to assess whether there's barrier damage.
Exactly, the barrier damage is the main one there. We know from other races, WEC for instance, if there's enough damage on that barrier, then it needs to really be repaired before they can get the race restarted.
Bit of debris on the racetrack there, going up through Dingle Dell. So that may well be able to be retrieved by the brave marshalling force while we're under these controlled conditions. Drivers steering around it. But it is Ricardo Feller then leading from Arthur Leclerc in second place, Danny Junkendaya third, Mathis Liesmont fourth, Maurice Schuring, another rookie fifth. They're okay, and out of the car, good to see, is Robin Knudsen. He's having a pretty torrid start to his GT World Challenge Europe career. He's explaining to the medical crew exactly what happened. Not my fault, Gov. But how much damage the car has sustained, well, there's the answer starting to unfold. Wow, big damage.
I don't know about cars so much as to repair them, but that to be repaired for race 2 might be a tricky one.
Yeah, as tasks go, that's on the Herculean chart, isn't it? So that might be the last we see of that car, sadly, this weekend. And Gilles Magnus, who had qualified the car on pole for race 2 in gold, may well be denied the chance to go racing at all. Massive disappointment. And the Boutsen team must think, oh, what do we have to do to catch a break? It was even before the first corner at Ricard that Robin was tagged into the barriers. And here it's happened, what, 2/3 of the way round the opening lap. We'll get a replay, I'm sure, in due course, but as you say, it did look like there was a tag from behind. So we carry on under safety car conditions here. What can a driver do now? Clearly some of the work is to try and keep the tyre pressures up. What else are you doing in the car?
Yeah, brake temps up. So, you know, I would imagine all these drivers are left foot braking anyway, so it's just a case of just ride the brakes, keep them hot as well, but not overly hot, and keep the temperature in the tyres. Listen to what your pit crew's got to say on a time and of a restart, for instance. And from Fella's point of view, he's just got to do it all over again. But this time he doesn't have a car beside him. He's got a car behind him, so it should be a little bit safer for him. He can dictate the pace coming up to the line when it does restart. And I would have thought he'd be able to pick his way through Paddock and into Druids and without any issue again. But yeah, you're going to. It's a second chance for drivers that are further back that, as we talked about before, maybe okay. So barrier damage, I would have thought, and they're going to have to fix that barrier, and they're going to stop the race so that we get a proper race ahead of us.
Yeah, Niels Vitic, who is the race director, is very keen on racing. He says people come to watch racing. Teams and drivers want to go racing. So to give people a race rather than, let's say, for the sake of a number, 25 minutes of driving around under a safety car, stop the proceedings and repair the barriers, and then we can go racing again in the order that it would have been at the red flag. But yeah, one of the perils of an old school circuit is they are old barriers as well. But I should think that was quite a whack. You've seen the damage it's done to the Porsche, so imagine the damage it's done to the barrier.
Absolutely, you know, today's day and age, we do err on the side of caution and safety, and a short race like this, you don't want half of it or more to be under a safety car. So let's get a proper race, and poor old Ricardo Fella's got to sit it out for a while and let the nerves build back up again.
Absolutely. Robin Knudsen is okay, as we have seen, but there are recovery vehicles removing the car. The medical crew there just to check that he's okay, and also, of course, to make sure that as the car was flying, gravel and debris hasn't made contact with anybody else that was there, because you've got camera crews, you've got marshals, of course. We need to make sure everybody is okay. And crucially, the barriers have to be safe before we can go racing. And well done to the MSV Motorsport Vision team. They're already on the case, getting the tyre barrier sorted out, getting the Armco barrier sorted out. They've got there in double quick time. Meanwhile, time to grab some lunch. So Ricardo Feller will lead the cars to the pit lane, and that is where we will restart from in due course. But yeah, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it, to stop things rather than have endless caution laps and no racing.
Exactly, we're here for a strong motor race rather than a procession behind the safety car.
Exactly right. Good start though by Ricardo Feller. I know you said, and you're right so to do, that it wasn't perhaps the best launch, but he certainly regrouped out of Druids, and to be 1.6 seconds ahead by the end of the opening lap, on cold tyres, he was gone.
Exactly, I think he really has got the confidence in that car beneath him. His Porsche is definitely behaving very well around the circuit. So, yes, he's carrying 10 kilo overnight added to the car from his balance of performance, but 10 kilo isn't enough really to make that much of a difference. If you think the car itself is probably running 80 to 100 litres of fuel in there, so from the start of the race till the end of the race, so it's 10k is not so much.
So their cars come down the pit lane, and there is what's left of the Porsche. It is the barrier damage that is being attended to. That's the cause of stoppage. It's not that anybody is injured. Cameraman's fine. Marshals are all right as far as we know. Robin Knudsen is okay. But it's the barrier that needs to be made safe before we can go racing once again. So there, looking down from the drone. Great shot that of all the cars in the pit lane. You can see the variety in terms of shapes and sizes. Replay at the start. Ricardo Feller, yeah, not the best of launches, but he claimed that inside line for paddock, didn't he?
Absolutely, he's on the safer inside line. He's able to hook up the grip, drive through the corner. Arthur Leclerc there on his outside doesn't really want to commit fully around the outside, which I don't blame him. And then you've got Juncadella there, nicely placed behind. But Ricardo Feller here, he seems to get through Druids very well while the others are squabbling, and gets to drive down the hill, and already starting to pull a gap. We've got one of the cars going off near the back, but to be frank, I think to have made it through the two main corners at the start of the race and only have one car off is pretty well done by everyone.
Simon Birch's Porsche was the one that got all sideways and crossed up. Have another look from the hydro. We might be able to follow that Porsche in a moment, but you've got Ricardo Feller in the lead. Have a look sort of mid-pack. You'll see a red and white Porsche that gets a bit crowded to the inside and gets all crossed up. Here it comes on the inside, slides across the traffic. There it is, just coming under the trees, and Simon Birch managed to save it. Didn't collect anybody, but it was a save from most, and then it was Mattia Michelotto at the back that went around. So that delayed him. He's back into the hunt though now because he catches up. This is looking from Maurice Schuring's Porsche. Look at Danny Juncadella. He was on his toes at the start, wasn't he?
Absolutely. He probably made the best start of everyone, but he just had nowhere to go.
And Schuring likewise thinking, is there an inch I can take on the outside without running too wide? He's got traffic on the inside of him and loses out because that's Mathis Lismon's BMW coming back at him. Ricardo Feller by this point has gained 2 or 3 lengths. Now later around the lap, have a look. Let's try and work out what happens to Robin Knudsen, who comes into view there, and he gets tagged by Simon Birch.
I don't know, it kind of looked like Birch was going for a hole that was always going to close, and he was carrying a bit too much speed. Get another view here.
He switches sides, doesn't he, and just clips the back of him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure there was very much that Robin Knudsen could have done about that. Birch, yeah, thought there might have been a gap on the inside, but perhaps misjudged how close he was as he swung across.
Exactly, I think racing incident, but the fault really is from the assaulting driver rather than the one who was into the wall. So unfortunate there. Probably going to see some kind of penalty to that driver as well, I would have thought, once it's reviewed by the stewards.
Absolutely right. So we are under red flag conditions. The clock stops, and what this does allow us is a chance to rejoin Nida Jane Paul down in the pit lane. Thomas Neubauer has been a winner here in the past. He is sharing that Ferrari in second place with Arthur Leclerc. Let's rejoin Nina Jade.
Thomas, what did you think of Arthur's start? I mean, he maintained position with pressure from behind.
Yeah, I mean, the first sprint start of the season, I was not expecting less, for sure. There's a lot of cars out there. Arthur did a brilliant job, still P2, after a very good qualifying yesterday. So let's see how it goes after we start again the race, but it's quite positive from our side from now on.
How are you feeling about jumping in the car later?
Yeah, for sure, I'm excited. I have very good memories from Brands Hatch many years ago, winning my first overall races. So I can't wait to be back in the car and maybe try to get this feeling back again.
Well, best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thomas Neubauer, who was a Ferrari champion in the World Final, winner of the Dubai 24 Hours. He's been a Sprint Silver and an Endurance Silver Cup champion in seasons past. Danny Juncadella there, getting out of the car, talking to Chris Lulham, others discussing their races as well, and having a look at the front of that Verstappen Racing Mercedes AMG. Arthur Leclerc joining Danny Juncadella in conversation. Drivers, as yet, like all of us, are waiting further news as to a restart time, which is dependent on that barrier damage. But they're the officials at the front of the queue of cars, the safety crew team, ready to get back on board when required. So, looking back here at the number 2 Maurice Schuring Porsche, this is Danny Juncadella's rear view as they dive into paddock. You can see everybody really sort of trying to go for the same bit of tarmac on the inside there. Run up towards Druis. At this point, Schuring tries to go around the outside of Mathis Lismont, who has lost out to Juncadella. Good getaway, it seems, also in the background by the number 14 Conte Lapalainen Ferrari that is trying to make some progress as well. Juncadella fends off Mathis Lismont as they run again along that short Cooper straight. Hard on the brakes, go left at Surtees. Lismont just clipping the curb on the inside. Charles Weerts further back has made a bit of progress because he was 12th on the grid. He's into the top 10 as the cars accelerate down towards Hawthorns. And this is where, for the first time on the lap, Peter, the cars can stretch their legs.
Yeah, this is the faster part of the circuit. Less of a chance to overtake, although one driver thought he probably could. But yeah, coming through Dingle-Dell and Sheen Curve. Coming up now, Sheen Curve. Great part of the circuit this, and you see through the trees, and it's really scenic. And you probably see a car in the background shooting towards the wall in a second. It's fantastic getting to the circuit, a nice quick circuit through Clearways now as well.
So that was the opening lap, looking back from Danny Juncadella's car. The barrier damage is almost done. Excellent work here. Let's try and get a word with Danny Juncadella. It started 4th, he's up to 3rd. So it's been a really good opening lap. He's gained ground. Let's hear from Danny. He is with Nina Jade.
Danny, brilliant start from you, up to 3rd position. And I thought you were going to get Arthur as well.
Yeah, I mean, I had a really good start. I was thinking of going 3 wide into turn 1, but I think that would have been a bit of a high-risk, low-reward move. So I backed out of it, then into turn 2, tried again around the outside. Couldn't make it happen, but yeah. Start is important here. It's a bit like the Monaco Formula 1. The race at this track is really hard to pass. So yeah, we made 1 position, so that's always a positive.
Well, after the red flag, you get another chance. What's your mindset for that?
Still, you know, a safety car restart is not the same. We're in 1-by-1 formation, so it's a bit harder for sure. I'm always going to try to go forwards, but yeah, happy so far. Pit stops will be the key now, mid-race, so that's it.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Danny Juncadella, Macau Grand Prix winner, Formula 3 champion, Intercontinental GT Challenge champion, GT World Challenge Europe Endurance champion, and a DTM race winner here as well. He's got a great CV.
He seems very relaxed.
He does, doesn't he?
You know,
yeah.
He's been through it. He's done it all before. He's yeah, that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I've got a plan. It'll be fine. Let's have another look at this incident. So it's the red and white Simon Birch Porsche that you're looking at that comes into shot now. So the blue-nosed Porsche, look, Birch thinks about one side, switches sides, and I think just misjudges where he is in relation to Knutsen braking for the corner, tags the back, and Robin Knutsen, just nowhere to go. Huge impact into the barrier.
Yeah, Knutsen did nothing wrong there.
No.
It's just so unfortunate.
So Ricardo Feller continues to be our race leader. That's a destroyed Porsche, isn't it? Let's get to Ricardo Feller with Nina Jade.
Ricardo, a dream start for you, and you were starting to build a little gap. What went through your mind when the red flag came out?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I hope that everyone is okay because the car looked quite damaged, but I guess it is so. No, it was all good. Good start, and try to do the same again now.
How do you stay focused?
By staying focused. I don't know, it's well, used to it. We're doing it for many years, so nothing new.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Ricardo Fowler, who I think is revelling now in being a Porsche contracted driver. We are into our final 5 minutes, and the race will resume at 11:34. It'll be a safety car restart, so the cars will leave from the pits behind the safety car, and then Niels Vitic will let them go after either 1 or 2 laps, depending on how he feels about tyre temperatures on a day which is pretty warm outside. So we are, as I say, about 3.5 minutes away from getting the race back underway. The clock starts again as soon as the cars leave the pit lane. So although we talk about the race stopped, in real terms it's been suspended, and we carry on where we left off once the field leaves the pit lane. There, Arthur Leclerc getting himself ready in the second placed Ferrari he will be. So he's getting another chance to have a go on the resumption of the race, and that's Mathis Lismont, who is still ahead in silver. He's had a really good weekend, and as Peter was suggesting, could be on for an overall podium here, given the pace of the BMW. Not a great start. He has lost out to Jean Cadea, but even so, he's in the mix.
He is, you know, he's in a different class, as you say. So he's kind of guarded that he wants to win his class, but at the same time, he wants to roll the dice just enough to get himself in a position where he could potentially have an overall podium. But Juncadella is all out. He's very experienced, as we've talked about. So, yeah, it's very interesting how the two mindsets work of class victory versus overall victory.
And there's another driver who's eager to get on with life and try to gain places, and that is Valentino Rossi, and he is currently in 7th place. Let's have a look at the start of the race from the drone. It's an awesome shot, this. And Simon Birch, we know, has been involved in one incident, but he nearly had another one here. Look, there's the Porsche on the grass, 2 wheels, sideways. He almost got Knutsen there, in fact, at Druids. Survived the moment. Battles his way down the hill. That's Mikey Porter's McLaren on the grass. The drone exceeds track limits, I'm afraid, at Graham Hill Bend. That's one strike for the drone pilot, but then he's gaining places on the run along Cooper Straight. Look, that is Lucas Auer diving up the inside of Arthur Rougier and the Mercedes alongside, and a bit of hip and shoulder there. Have a look at this from the drone. Wait for the accident. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Now. Whew.
That's violent.
Absolutely.
I've been in 1 or 2 shunts, and I would
really
be in that one.
Yeah, now you can see exactly why that is such a broken Porsche. And the best news of all is that everybody is okay. So, yeah, excellent work by the drone crew to give us those images. Fantastic. We are getting closer to racing. We're about 1.5 minutes away. And the race will resume at 11:34. We've still got just under 55 minutes on the clock, with only effectively 2 laps completed by the crews, one of which was coming towards the pit lane. So the safety car crew is ready. The race director, Niels Vitic, is ready. He's looking at the clock. The 1-minute board is shown in the pit lane, and that now means engines fire. Remember, no work to be done. It's park fairway conditions. Drivers allowed out of the car. Nice touch on the BMWs to Alex Zanardi there, who of course was a BMW factory driver when he returned to racing in the World Touring Car Championship and then in what was the Blancpain GT Sprint series for BMW, the Z4 era. Nice touch that. So engines are fired up, and in about half a minute's time, the safety car, the Maserati, will take the cars back out on track. The clock will carry on ticking, and we'll see whether it's 1 or 2 laps to get tyre temperatures and pressures back up before they are let loose once again. 15-second board shown, and so our opening GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup race set to get back underway. That's Charles Weerts ahead of Alexei Nesov, ahead of Lucas Auer in the queue. Lucas Auer has gained a couple of places. Right, safety car is on its way, and now the cars are released from the pit lane. Safety car restart, the clock is ticking, the race is back on, albeit under controlled conditions. And now, Peter, I guess for the drivers, there's actually a bit of work to do. Get tyres up to temperature, brakes again.
Yeah, the car's been sitting there. Tyres have been getting cold, brakes have been getting cold, so it's time to work those to get them back to as close to a race temperature and pressure as possible. They've got 1 lap to do it, essentially. By the time they get back round to the main straight, all cars will be hopefully in a tight line, we'll see the safety car pull in and the race will restart. So he's cruising round now, getting all the packets. A lot of cars to leave the pits, so it takes a while for them to all get back onto the track, but actually the ones at the back get to go a little bit quicker and build the temperature that bit more.
Simon Birch is going to be given a stop-and-go penalty, we understand, of 20 seconds for causing the collision. So 20-second stop-go, it hurts their race. Does it equate to the damage sustained to the number 10 Porsche? Well, nothing does it? So it is going to be a time penalty for Simon Birch for causing the collision. That sounds like a slam dunk, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was always going to be a penalty. I think in the minds of the stewards, they try not to look at the result of the shunt. They try to look at how out of control was that driver, how bad the actual incident itself was, not the result of the incident, and they've just judged that to be a 20-second stop and go. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by that, really.
And Peter knows of what he speaks, but given that he is a driving standards advisor in the World Endurance Championship, so regularly he's called upon for a driver's view of an incident. Right, we are under safety car conditions then, ready to get the race back underway. The next legend we look for on the timing screen, which is what the teams all get as well, is to say safety car in this lap. And I suspect there will be one more, because given that the cars have been stationary for a fair few minutes, another lap to get everything back up to temperature would be a good thing. And indeed, the lights are still on atop the safety car, so we're going to do one more lap for sure as they come now through Clark Curve. All of this eating into the race, of course, now. And what this is doing is just taking another lap or two away from these drivers in the opening stint who are looking to make progress.
Yeah, I mean, it's relying more on the pit stop itself.
Yeah.
We do know that they're staggered. Different cars are going to come in at different time. The Pro will come in at a different time than the Silver, for instance, so that it's such a tight paddock here with the garages so close together that if you get all cars coming at the one time, then it's just a melee of cars everywhere. So wise thing to do. Gradually we see them. There's still gaps there, so that's probably the main reason why they haven't been able to go straight away, because there's so many cars, as you say, 30-odd cars that all have to filter out of the pits after the red flag and get back onto the car, you know, right onto the car in front, nice and close. The race director will be watching that, and he'll also be controlling the speed of that safety car, so that by the time we come round to clear race this time around, hopefully everyone's right there and the car will peel off and Riccardo Fella will control the pace up to the line.
Yeah, timing screen confirms the safety car is in this lap. Valentino Rossi could be in hot water, though. A Parc Ferme infringement has been noted. So something has happened or been done to the car, or too many people touching the car in that hiatus when we had the red flag.
Yep, in the pit lane there'll be observers everywhere looking at everything, and they know the rules. And if you're right, if a mechanic's touched that car to do a job on it or something like that, then that will have been noticed.
There's confirmation, safety car in this time, and we'll wait and see what comes from 46. You noticed a moment ago we looked at the gold class leading Ferrari of Tommaso Mosca. That means he's jumped ahead of Dylan Pereira's Audi. So we've had a change from the grid to the race order in gold. There's the back of 51 Ferrari just disappearing towards the vehicle bridge at Clearways. This is Valentino Rossi's view, and in turn he is staring at the back of Consta Lap Alignment's Ferrari. Right, here we go again. Safety car will peel in. This is going to be at the end of lap number 4 then. We are good to go racing again here at Brands Hatch. Nice restart by Riccardo Fella. He goes midway around Clark Curve, and he's going to vault clear again by a good half a second or so of the Ferrari on the run up towards Paddock Hill Bend. It's Fella who leads. It is Leclerc second. It's Juncker third. It's Porsche, Ferrari, Mercedes, AMG, BMW fourth. Leading Silver, Mathis Lismont. The cars make the run round Paddock up towards Druids for the 6th time of asking. And Riccardo Fella it is who leads the way. He was half a second to the good, and there's more fun and games up at Druids then. Look, you can see there Porsche on the attack as they drop now down towards Graham Hill Bend. That, number 9, is Alexei Nesov, and he's trying to get back past Charles Weers.
Yep, great start again, no issues, Paddock and Druids, so Fella made the perfect getaway. He was already flat on the apex of Clearways, stretched the field out, got the clean getaway, which meant that behind you had to be really clever to have managed to stay close to the car in front to have a pop at them. It looks like no one's really been able to do any overtaking on that first few corners anyway.
As the cars then now go towards Westfield for the first time. There, turning through, is Lucas Auer aboard number 48 Mercedes, 12th place, but there's the chance of gaining further ground before the pit window. Ricardo Feller, in the meantime, he's trying to break away. The Porsche a little bit heavier today under a BOP adjustment than it was yesterday, but it's not facing it at all. That's Maro Engel looking on and catches a glimpse of himself, watching him. This is Auer, his co-driver, Lucas Auer, coming down towards Clark Curve, turns right, road drops away, road climbs again, and then the undulating pits straight. In quotes, Ricardo Feller now is clear by 9/10 of a second as they get up towards Paddock Hill Bend once again. Leclerc second, Junqueira third, and Feller, having done the fastest lap, is trying to build that gap. That Junqueira still in third spot. Mathis Liesmont leading silver is in fourth place.
Leclerc also having just built a couple of lengths over Junqueira, so that Ferrari, the tyres have switched on quickly. Top three, status quo, nothing going on.
Meanwhile, Ferrari fight going on here, look, and that was pretty brave. Up the inside, tried to squeeze 52, which is the Jeff Machiels car, to get past Carl Bennett. Nothing happened amongst them. That is for 26th place overall. They're both in silver, so it's a proper battle for position outright and in class that you're looking at here. And quite clearly, Jeff Machiels fancies his chances of getting past. Behind them is Lawrence Cabirou in the green and white Dynamic GT Porsche. Nicky Tim, incidentally, 31st on the grid. He's up to 24th, so making progress.
As you would expect, very experienced ex-WEC world champion. So he knows his way around, he knows all these tracks, he knows the car. He just had a very unfortunate qualifying yesterday, so you would expect him to move up some places.
Indeed so. We saw Matteo Niccolotto spin on the opening lap at Druids. He was touched, we understand, by Luca Engschler. He's been given a 10-second hold on his pit stop for causing the collision. This is Lucas Auer's view then as he comes up towards the line. Alexei Nesov on the attack then to try to go around the outside as they get up towards Paddock. Porsche late on the brakes. Auer trying to find a gap on the inside, no way through. Nesov looks to switch sides. Ahead of him is Dylan Pereira, who has now fallen back behind Charles Wirtz. Look in the BMW up into 9th place. Pereira dropping back from the Gold Cup leading Ferrari of Tommaso Mosca as well. And Auer a little bit stuck now. He wants to get past Nesov. Nesov needs to get past that Audi.
Yeah, you see the concertina effect coming up into Druids, all the cars closing down, and then as you leave the corner down the hill, they all open back up again. Tricky to overtake around this track. There's very few opportunities. You've got to be very wily and take the risk at the same time. You know, this is still a race that you've got a pit stop to do and you've got to change driver, so you don't want to wreck it. Plus, you also don't want to have an incident where your car cannot be repaired for race 2.
Simon Birch, by the way, has just served his stop-go in the Porsche that was found guilty of causing the race-stopping crash on the opening lap of the race. The leaders then now work lap 8 and they climb their way up round Sheen Curve. There is Dylan Pereira under attack from Alexei Nesov, under attack from Lucas Auer, and Ricardo Feller leading by 9/10 of a second up front. Arthur Leclerc still second, Danny Junqueira third. Pressure is going to be on the Lion Speed pit crew here, isn't there? Because Feller has done everything he's possibly been asked to do. He's taken pole position, he's converted that into the lead, he's kept the lead on the resumption of the race. Lion Speed have got to deliver an absolutely fantastic pit stop to preserve the lead.
They do. I think from the team's point of view, he would like them to, Feller, just to eke out another second or two so that they've got a bit of margin in there. But it's going to be super tight in the pit boxes anyway, because so many cars, and you know, 1 second can make a difference. Of course, when you rejoin the fast lane, you've got to rejoin into a space, and if you're not, you've got the potential to balk another car, and then the stewards are going to look at that as well. So I think this is one of the hardest races for the pit crew because it's such a tight pit area.
And as you heard Danny Junqueira lightning Brands Hatch to Monaco, if you can't overtake on the track, you need to do it in the pit lane. Charles Wirtz is on a mission. We mentioned he's up into 9th place, and he has also set the fastest lap of the race. So number 32 BMW in 9th place. There is the Lion Speed Porsche coming down towards Sterling. The pit window, by the way, doesn't move because of the red flag, because the clock stops, so we pick up where we left off. That currently is the fastest car on the racetrack, largely because Wirtz, having got past Pereira, is in a bit of clear track space, but soon he's going to catch a queue of cars, then he's going to get stuck. Yeah,
exactly. You know, we're running nose to tail, most of these guys. So interestingly, we've got Leclerc pulling away from Junqueira, so the first two have managed to pull that gap a little bit now. Junqueira 1.4 behind now. Let's see if that continues through the stint. A little bit surprising because he was so racy at the start of the race, but he just seems to have either he's made a little mistake somewhere or his car in race pace is not quite there.
So there's Fella, there is Leclerc, and yeah, Junqueira falling back, and he's a bit becoming the cork in the bottle, isn't he? He's got a long line stacked up behind him, and Mathis Lismont in 4th place now needs to make a call. Do I attack for 3rd place overall, or do I just sit here and carry on leading in silver?
Well, the problem he has is he can easily be attacked from behind as well, so you've kind of got to attack to stop having to defend. Let's see how this race develops. Junqueira is still up there. His pace is still good. He's not so far behind, but yeah, at the moment he is the car that's under pressure. The other two seem to be driving away. I mean, it's always the easier thing if you're not fighting it out. The top two cars aren't fighting it out. They've got their heads down and they're driving away. Now Junqueira has to be watching his mirrors because any second Lismont might take a pop at him.
Absolutely right. So Mathis Lismont running 4th, leading silver. 2nd in silver is 11th overall, Alexei Nesov. There is Junqueira going over the timing line, and Lismont thought for a moment might just feint to the inside line, but he doesn't. He sits tight going through paddock. New fastest lap, Dylan Pereira in the Gold Cup leading Audi. Dylan Pereira now the quickest man on the racetrack as you look back from Junqueira. The gap 2nd to 3rd. Leclerc to Junqueira is now 1.9 seconds. That's a big margin for Danny to have lost.
Absolutely. It does make me wonder about his race pace setup, whether it's quite there for him, whether he's already starting to lose the rear, for instance. You know, if these cars have all got traction control, if the rear's starting to go and he's having to use it leaving the corners, he's losing a bit of straight line speed, for instance. But he seems to have got it back together again. He's eked out a little bit more of a gap against Lismont. Maybe just had a tough couple of laps, but yeah, he's still dropping time compared to the leader. 2.1 down now.
And there, Danny Junqueira and Mathis Lismont then climb up towards Sheen Curve. There you can clearly see the gap, 2nd to 3rd, and that was 1.9 seconds at the start of the lap. The one that's looking menacing in 5th place now is there, the Porsche look, number 2, Maurice Schuring, the Dutch driver, new to Brands Hatch, as Arthur Leclerc is coming back, is he, at Ricardo Fella. Let's see, coming up towards the line. It was a 2nd last time to the eye. I just wondered if the Ferrari was a fraction nearer. They break the beam, and 1 second becomes 7/10. Yeah, Leclerc is closer. And look at this long queue of cars that stretches now almost back to 12th place Lucas Auer as they come pouring through paddock. Junqueira, then Lismont, then Schuring, then Constant Lapalainen, then Valentino Rossi, then Tommaso Mosca. They're all starting to queue up behind that 3rd placed Mercedes.
This is ideal for the two cars in front. Junqueira seems to be losing about half a second a lap at the moment. So we've got a good 10 minutes until pit window opens.
And it will be the Pro and Gold Cup cars that bail first. That should, therefore, of course, put Mathis Lismont briefly into the lead overall. Now there, look, Junqueira on that part of the racetrack seems to be able to get away, just stretch that margin slightly over Lismont. And then, in turn, Maurice Schuring starts to think about what he can do to the BMW. Bit of dirt being kicked up there. That was Charles Weerts going wide. There he is, number 32. He's lost his fastest lap of the race now to Simon Birch, who's served his stop go and he's running on his own a long way back in clear air. So Birch, currently the quickest man on the racetrack. He needs another safety car to bring the Porsche back into the game. Through goes Alexei Nesov, 11th. Sorry.
I think Birch will be kicking himself. He knows that mistake was his. I don't think there would have been any malice in that. He didn't do that on purpose. It was just a pure mistake, racing mistake, and it's cost him, it's cost the team. And now he's got to just get his head down, and as you say, he's going quickest now, but try to get something back out of this race.
On board with Lucas Auer, heading up now into Paddock Hill Bend. We are about 5 minutes off the first pit stops when the window opens, and you can see how busy it is as Dylan Pereira goes wide at Druids. That gives a bit of optimism to Alexei Nesov, who is 2nd in silver. Lucas Auer still stuck, so the pit stops really are going to shuffle the order. Drivers getting ready then, as you can see, for the Gold and Pro stops that will be first, and then you reverse that, so it's the silver stoppers that will be happening first in race 2, for which the grid's already been decided based on that 2nd part of qualifying yesterday. Auer goes down towards Hawthorns, and look at this for the lead. That Ferrari is getting closer and closer. It was a 2nd, then it was 7/10, now it's half a second. 1-hour race, a mandatory stop, that window of 10 minutes to encompass all cars. But as far as the race lead is concerned, it is being whittled away for no immediately obvious reason. That Ferrari is now the quicker car.
The thing is, this is the first time we've seen all weekend the race pace of the car over a stint. It could be that 10 kilos has just made that small difference. What it would tend to do is make it just fraction the Porsche fractionally slower at the corners. It would fractionally use the tyre a little bit more, and the Ferrari just seems to be a really well-balanced car right now. The race is starting to come to Leclerc.
Yeah.
Fella's still in control though, and it's all down to the pit work that's going to take place in about the next 5 minutes or so.
That's Lawrence Cabarrou getting it wrong at Westfield, just clipped the curb on the inside, bounces wide. Leclerc fancies his chances of being the race leader before the pit stops. So this is now putting pressure on Fella, it's putting pressure on Lion Speed to deliver in the pit lane as well.
And what this actually will do now is bring Juncadella back in. So look, he's closed down to 1.9 now, 1.9 now. He was 2.5 just a lap ago. So the front two cars are starting to squabble, and Juncadella's coming back into this race.
So the Ferrari edging nearer to the Porsche. Porsche versus Ferrari. Decades-long battles between the two, whether it's been in sports cars or GT cars. Clipping the curb is the second place, Arthur Leclerc. Ferrari, he's not yet been a winner in GT World Challenge. He's converting a first front row start into second place. What can he do here? Ricardo Fella, then, who's a previous Sprint Cup champion, leads the way. Juncadella just getting away a bit from Lismont, isn't he? So not only is he closing on the top two, he's also dropping the BMW. And by not having to defend from Lismont, he can start to drive his own lines again.
Absolutely. You know, when you've got a car directly behind you, you always have to be that little bit more cautious, because one small error and they'll have you. But at the moment, as you say, he's got the car, he's regrouped, he's got the car back under him, and he's got the pace back, and he's like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can try to close up to the guys in front. He knows this race is a longish race. 37 minutes left, and we still have a pit stop and a driver change, so many things can still happen in this race.
Race leaders then are on lap number 15. We are looking at about 2 minutes, so 2 laps before the first of the pit stops. And has Ricardo Fella steadied the ship, so to speak? His last lap was slightly quicker than that of Leclerc, so the gap was up to 0.6 of a second. There it is. It's not massive.
I think from an aero point of view, Leclerc just can't get any closer.
Yeah.
And you can see now Juncadella 1.3 behind, so he has closed in another couple of tenths on the previous lap. So yeah, it's coming back to him as well. So he's definitely not out of this. You see how close he is now compared to where he was.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Bastian Buss will take over the lead car. Thomas Neubauer, the second place car. Chris Lulham at the third, and they're all getting ready then for the pit stops. Down through Stirling's goes Lucas Auer. So coming through clearways into Clark Curve. Remember, it's going to be, as we've been saying, the Pro and Gold cars that stop in the first 5 minutes of this race. The Silvers get the second 5 minutes of that 10-minute window, and then we switch it around in race 2. Leaders go by then. That now puts 15 laps in the book, 0.7 of a second. It just creeps up slightly more between Fella and Leclerc.
Let's see who jumps first into the pits. Obviously, Fella first on the road. As soon as it opens, do you think he'll come in? More than likely,
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Because he's got to maintain that position. And I think he's also aware that maybe he's lost a little bit of pace compared to the two cars behind him now.
It's going to be really interesting then to see what the pit stop times are as you look at Consta Lapalainen heading into Surtees ahead of Valentino Rossi. There is Lucas Auer, who's had the most frustrating of stints, hasn't he? He's made a bit of progress on the first couple of corners, and then he's got absolutely stuck. Simon Birch still with the fastest lap of the race to his name, but no playmates. And Fella to Leclerc, 0.7 last time. But look now, Danny Juncadella, who is virtually on the tail of the Ferrari. When they went over the line, Juncadella was 1 second back. It's going to be fractions of a second this time, and Fella, in contrast, is getting away again.
Yeah, this is a crazy race, how it ebbs and flows. And you think, did Fella control it there for a second? Did he push again? You know, it's not out of the realms of possibilities. Pit window open now.
And he comes in. So Fella dives in, and that could be really clever because he just gambled on it at the last moment to dive in. The others have carried on for another lap. So Ricardo Fella is first into the pit lane. As I say, they've split the windows for the different categories to give the teams a bit of space to work. But look how busy it is as they come pouring down the pit lane. This now means Leclerc leads the way. I'm not quite sure whether it was Ricardo Fella sort of backing off for a lap or two to stack Leclerc into Junqueray, and maybe that's being a little bit Machiavellian, but it certainly worked for him. Right, Auer is out, the taller Engel is into the Winward Racing number 48 Mercedes AMG, and there is the Porsche look from Lion Speed down the pit lane. So Bastien Bus on board, behind him is Maurice Schuring, who looks like he's going to gain out of this. So Porsche back on track, but we need to get the next round of stops for Leclerc and Junqueray before we get the true order.
Yep, so we got a change of driver there. We've got tyres that need to get back up to pressure, and the cars that are on track obviously already have their tyres at pressure. So yeah, it'll be an interesting pit stop coming up now. I would definitely imagine that Leclerc and Junqueray will box this lap.
The pit time for the Porsche, 42.1 seconds. And Valentino Rossi's pit stop, 41.3. The WRT stop for Jordan Pepper, 39.6. There's some really good stops.
Continues.
He does. Danny Junqueray carries on for another lap. But do we argue now that he's quicker than Chris Lullen by a little bit, so you maximise Danny's time in the car?
Potentially, yes. Or they could be thinking that, well, while the tyres are hot and the car has come back to Junqueray, he may as well stay in it and push and get the maximum out of it. And it might potentially put Lullen into the lead for a short amount of time on cold tyres, and he might then get swamped by the who's fella's co-driver?
Bastien Bus.
Bastien Bus. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting. In the next couple of laps, we'll see how this plays out.
So there is Bastien Bus, who comes up towards the line, but the Ferrari is going to come out ahead. So there you've got Thomas Neubauer, who's jumped ahead of the Porsche on the pit stops. A great stop by AF Corsa, and so down the pit lane now, back into the race goes the number 51 Ferrari.
So does Bastien Bus's tyres afford him a chance to close in on that Ferrari and potentially have a go, or is that just going to stay as it is?
Well, I think what benefited Leclerc was a really good in-lap, because the pit stop time was only about a tenth slower than the Porsche, but he's come out ahead. So it was a good in-lap. We've got one Ferrari being roughed up at Graham Hill Bend. This is now Danny Junqueray in. So you've got Neubauer ahead of Bus after the pit stops. We need to see where Lullen is when he rejoins, and that is Mauro Engel getting past Alex Arca. Elbows out, Mauro Engel on a mission. Right, Chris Lullen, pressure on, and it's also going to be on the Verstappen Racing Mercedes AMG crew now to cycle this car through as quick as possible. No errors permitted.
A lot of pressure on the drivers to get into the car quickly as well, get the belts done. No refueling, obviously, so it's pure tyre change and then send the driver.
The big loser, though, is Lion Speed, because not only have they been mugged by AF Corsa, but they've also got the potential of being mugged there by the Verstappen Mercedes AMG, and I think Junqueray is staying out for 2 extra laps as well, because there is Chris Lullen, who is
Ferrari.
Yeah, he's going to get out just ahead, and he leads into paddock. So Lullen leads third to first on the pit stops, and first to third is the Lion Speed Porsche. It's all unravelled for the Porsche crew. So Lullen leads, second is Neubauer, third is Bus, and fourth, look, it's Dorian Boccolacci, who makes a big dive up the inside, and Bus gives him the room. There was barely any fight there. Bus tries to come back at him out of the corner, but that Lion Speed Porsche does look to be struggling.
Yep, interesting, because fella seemed to, we've got another car off, so potential for a safety car here.
Yeah, that was Alex Arca.
99 car.
Yeah, Alex Arca's just taken it over from Dylan Pereira. That looks like it's off at Sterling's. So Lullen leads, Neubauer is second. In third place, it was Bus from Boccolacci, but third place switching up at Druids. So there is your race leader, and Danny Junqueray staying out another couple of laps in clear air seems to have made the difference.
Yeah, it seems that the tactics of the Verstappen team have really paid off for the moment anyway. He's almost completed his first lap out of the pit, so he'll have got those tyres up to race temperature.
And there's a very happy Danny Junqueray. Their pit stop was the slowest out of the 3 leading cars, and yet being in clear air for a couple of laps worked in their favour to get ahead. So you've got Lullen leading, and we are still green while the pit window is open like this. I suspect that once all the stops have been made from the silvers, we might have the race neutralised to get that Audi out of the way. As there, diving up the inside goes Max Hesse in for Valentino Rossi to get ahead of Bastien Bus. that Porsche is just disappearing, isn't it? It's got nothing to offer by way of the fight. It looks like he's got a problem.
It's very interesting for me that you know, fella was in control of the race. He dropped a bit of pace, then he pushed on again towards his pit entry time. But you see the 99 car in the wall there. But yeah, it's so bizarre that Buss isn't able to keep that pace up with that car and has been passed twice on track by 2 other cars.
And there into the pit lane comes the notional race leader, Matis Leesmond, then to give way to Ignacio Montenegro. We're now into the part of the race where the silver pit stops can happen. So the team's being warned about Alex Arca's car in the gravel. Like I say, I think once the pit window is closed, we may well end up going yellow to get that out of the way. We'll see. That's now the Magnus Gustafsson Porsche, was Simon Birch at the wheel, going through. Out of the pits, back into the race, 28 3/4 minutes to go. So this race has turned out to have an order that we most definitely did not expect.
Not currently, no. And yeah, I think you're right about the pit stops. They just want to get everyone through the pits before they think about throwing a safety car.
Because at least this way it's fair for everybody to get the pit stops done. So the race order continues to shuffle, but Bastien Buss is in danger of losing 2 more places coming out of paddock, because he's now got the Matteo Cairoli and Jordan Pepper Ferrari and BMW respectively behind. Chris Lallam then leads the way. Could an outright win be going Chris's way for the first time? Gold Cup wins came aplenty last year, but an outright win could be on the cards. But it so too could be for Ferrari. Going very, very strongly behind him right now is Thomas Neubauer, who's been a winner here in the past.
I think the fact that Bastien Buss is on pole for race 2 means that his pace in the car is usually very good. So you might well be right. They've got an issue with that car.
So there is the on-the-road leader, Alexei Nesov, who's yet to stop to give way to Alex Malikin. So that car leads on the road and takes over the silver lead Pro 10. But that will change, of course, potentially when we get to the pit stops. Good battle going on there, look, because you've got the pink Ferrari, Matteo Cairoli, with Jordan Pepper tucked up behind. That yellow light blinking to remind people that there's a car in the gravel. There's the lead gap. It's coming down to the eye, is it not? So Neubauer closing on Lallam. It was 0.6 of a second last time. I think the Ferrari is good through the corners, and it's the grunt and go Mercedes on the straights that's able just to stretch the margin a little bit. Lallam to Neubauer, 0.7 of a second. Jordan Pepper about to dive to the inside there. Matteo Cairoli closes the door, and both of them stuck behind Bastien Buss in that Porsche that's just lost pace somehow, somewhere.
Yep, all the cars that did make it by him have just drawn away, so he's now fighting for his life here just to keep the cars behind. Cairoli next in line. We know that Ferrari's good in the tight, twisty stuff.
Yeah. And there's Jordan Pepper feinting to the inside. Even if there's not a gap, it tries to unsettle Cairoli. Cairoli looking to get past Bastien Buss. Cairoli knows all about Porsches, having raced them for many, many seasons. Jordan Pepper, though, goes to the outside line. This is brave stuff. Cairoli's got a bit boxed in, hasn't he, behind the Porsche. Here comes Jordan Pepper. Round the outside, he's cleared the Ferrari. He might get round the outside of the Porsche as well. He goes wide at Westfield. Fantastic. Is that the bravest move of the day?
That's tremendous, yeah. He just had the speed down the straight. The 2 cars in front of him were kind of tripped over each other. Bastien Buss missed his apex. Cairoli was lining him up, but he had the BMW already beside him, so he was, as you see, he was boxed in there and he couldn't do anything about it. And then Pepper just drives round the outside, takes all the speed, takes a risk, and fantastic move there.
Now there coming down the pit lane is Alex Malikin, who is about to lose the lead of silver. It goes back to the BMW that was streets ahead earlier on. So there, the pure racing Porsche settles back into second in class, which is where it was earlier on. Meanwhile, Matteo Cairoli looking for a way still to get past the Porsche. How frustrating is that? He spent a lap staring at the back of that car, whereas Jordan Pepper arrived, went round the outside and has cleared off.
So it's kind of shown him where he could now pass. So. Yeah. Coming down to Graham Hill Bend, look, he's just noticeably slower, Buss, isn't he? He just can't get the car. So this is Sterling's here, where he missed the apex last time, so he's held it very tight this time.
And we're going to go full course yellow. So the full course yellow is coming in 10 seconds, and now full course yellow. And I think maybe Kyroli just, yeah, he realised that he reacted too late, so he gives the place back to Bastien Bus. Full course yellow then, and this is the start, I suspect, of the process to get Alex Arca out of the gravel. Right, well, we can catch our breath, but Danny Juncadea's car is in the lead of the race after a stunning couple of in-laps and a good pit stop. Danny Juncadea is with Nina Jade.
Danny, I spoke to you during the red flag. When you were out there just before the pit stops, you were catching up to Arthur Leclerc, but you stayed out an extra 2 laps and then pitted. Brilliant strategy.
Yeah, it was good. I think we thought about this kind of strategy yesterday night. Having a good start was clear. I had it, and then on the stint I was just managing to try to be quick at the very end, so that when people trigger for the pit stops we can maybe make some time on track, and worked out perfectly. So yeah, very happy with that.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Yeah, interesting what he says about being quick at the end of the stint and with the road clear ahead of him. So we now have a full course yellow, and for the moment at least the gaps don't change. I suspect we will end up going safety car, but a full course yellow instantly slows everybody down and allows everybody to go at controlled pace, so it's safe for the marshals to work. And once the car is out of the way, we can think about perhaps getting 1 lap behind the safety car. Tyres up to temperature again, because the safety car can go quicker than a full course yellow speed, and then we can go back racing. So Bastien Bus now is in 9th place last time over the timing line in the car that dominated the first half of the race. So fascinated to try to get to the bottom of what's happened to that Porsche. We saw Fella lose a little bit of time, but presumably there is an issue with the car that Ricardo Fella was either managing slightly better or it's got worse for Bastien Bus.
Yeah, it sort of came towards the last third of his stint. He just started to lose pace against Leclerc, Ricardo Fella, and yeah, Bastien Bus, as I've talked about, he's on pole for the second race. Yeah. There's no lack of pace.
And that's the part of the answer. It is a problem. Look, it's into the pit lane. So it wasn't Bastien being slow. The car's got a problem, and it's into its box.
Such a sad end for that race, because they've had such a promising weekend. 2 pole positions, led the race early on. It was all looking like it was going to plan, and in the end, some kind of issue with the car. Maybe we can find out from Nina Jade about that one, what the issue is. But they're still on pole for race 2, so possibly that's one of the reasons they brought it in early, to try and get to the bottom of the issues.
Absolutely. So Bastien Bus into the pits, into retirement. That's a bus stop, I suppose, out of the race. But yeah, they've got a bit more repair time now to try to repair that car ready for race 2. Chris Lallam is your race leader. We're under full course yellow in an eventful opening to Sprint Cup here. Thomas Neubauer second, Dorian Boccolacci third, Kelvin van der Linde fourth, Ignacio Montenegro leads silver fifth, and sixth is Max Hesse. There is Bastien Bus out of the car. Now, that's interesting for you. When they went over the line, it was 11 tenths between the top 2. Now they're nose to tail. And under a full course yellow, gaps shouldn't come down. So has Chris Lallam had a slow sector? Yeah, he has, in comparison to Neubauer, who's now, as you can see, right on his tail. But normally, under full course yellow conditions, shouldn't really be catching up.
One thing that could be slightly different is different manufacturer, and they set their limiter. So some manufacturers might absolutely push the limit that little bit higher, so they're absolutely sat on, and then someone will be a bit more cautious and say, you know, like, just in case of penalties during pit stops or whatever, we'll set it slightly lower. So it could be a matter of 0.5 kilometers an hour limiter difference, and that's why you've got one tight to the other.
But of course, also these days, the amount of data available to the race officials will tell if anybody has gone too quickly under a full course yellow. I'm not suggesting necessarily that Neubauer has gone too quickly. It could be that just Chris Lallam was, being a bit cautious in a sector, and that's why the gap has come down. However, they are certainly very close, as also here, look, are Porsche and BMW, but Neubauer almost pushing him across the line.
It looks like the Ferrari has just got a higher limiter, you know, for speed, and so they're right up to the limit with so Ferrari just taking the Italian, right, okay, let's push this to absolute end, and whereas the Germans are a little bit more cautious with the Mercedes.
Well, pressure's on Chris Lallam here, isn't it? I mean, Thomas Neubauer has certainly shown intent. He wants to get past now, never mind when we go green. So up towards Druids they go, and the Ferrari team on the radio, perhaps just offering Thomas a note of caution. One or two drivers are going to be looked at for the yellow flag procedure, but this is going to be a great restart. Chris Lallam, pressure, pressure, pressure. We're into the final 20 minutes. We go green then, so the full course yellow is over. We're back in business, and Lallam does get a good restart. And actually, for all his zealotry, Neubauer not able to go with him. So Lallam comes out of Surtees, what, about 2 lengths clear?
Yeah, low down grunt from that Merc just takes it away from the Ferrari. Again, different engines, different cars. Everything's just that slightly bit different. Real squabble through Druids corner there with Aston Martin making some progress. So we had Aston's at the back, so where are they now?
Well, that was Arthur Dorison in 20th, but Kobe Powell's in the Nicky team car is 13th. He's had a really good run.
Massive run up the grid. From 30-something on the grid, yeah.
And we're hearing it's a steering issue as David Pittard gets run out wide onto the grass, and he picks up the sponsor's hoarding that's going to make the car overheat. So David Pittard was 23rd. He might be bound for the pit lane. We understand it's a steering issue for the number 80 Porsche. That's why it was losing pace. That's why it's in the pit lane. So big dramas. Odd to work out where that might have come from. It's not been like a curb strike or any contact, but anyway, steering is what we're hearing from the pit lane. So Lallam leads the way. It was 6/10 when they went over the line. Neubauer is second, Boccolacci third, Kelvin van der Linde fourth. Now, how about this? The BMW number 32 started 12th on the grid, and it's up into 4th place now.
Impressive work, yes. I didn't see how they did it, but obviously it was during pit stops. That was one of the cars that was able to jump vault in front of Bastien Bousses as well. So, yeah, impressive work from the BMW crew. Did you talk about them being one of the best of the pit crews out there as well?
Yeah.
So, you know, they definitely do a bit of practice back in the base. It can make all that difference. You know, 3-4 hours a week practicing different times. Pit stops can vault your car up, and all of a sudden you've got a car that's would normally be 10th, and it's now up to 4th.
There is, at the end of the season, the Mechanics Award for the best pit stops over the course of the season, and every year it's WRT mechanics that step forward to claim it. They have pit stops so well drilled. We talked about a great pit stop time for the Jordan Pepper car. 39.6 seconds. That is not quite the best. The Aston of Kobe Powell's on 39.4 is the best. However, still more battles to shake out of this race. As you look there at the Thierry Vermeulen Ferrari in the background, the Red Bull car going through. That's Louis Pret, number 58. Looking to have a go at Matthias Zagazetta's Ferrari for 11th and 12th. They're leading gold now. So Dylan Pereira, who was on pole, of course, that Audi out of the race. So Zagazetta in number 51 Ferrari taking over from Tommaso Mosca, under attack from Louis Pret, the Monegasque. Goes over the line, and this is for 11th place overall. So this is the Gold Cup lead. Nose to tail they run through Paddock Hill Bend. We've got now just under 17 minutes of the race to go, and Chris Lallam is just starting to edge away. He's up to 7/10 of a second now. So they drop down towards Graham Hill Bend. Ferrari still fending off McLaren. Two similar shapes, really, Ferrari versus McLaren. They're both aero-friendly cars.
He thinks he could possibly have a go and then work on that over the next couple of laps. It could be that it's into clearways or Paddock Hill or Druids potentially. Clearways unlikely, but we need to watch through here. I saw last time around the McLaren didn't quite use all the exit available. He's on a slightly different line. He doesn't use all the road on the exit, and I think it costs him on the straight there, so he needs to start using more of the track there.
Fastest lap of the race, Kelvin van der Linde running in 4th. Podium might possibly be on. Let's just see. He's got a bit of ground to make up, but he's in clear air. As there's Chris Lallam then, race leader, and let's just eavesdrop on the team radio for a moment.
And how many track limits are we in? We've had 3. So we've got 2 more, and then it's a penalty. Just need to keep it clean now, Chris, to the end. 12 laps after this.
Chris Lullum asking about how many track limit warnings they'd had. 3 the answer, 2 more, and then there's a penalty. So keep it clean, bring it to the end. And around here, easier said than done. There are quite a few drivers that have had warnings, although Ignacio Montenegro and Matis Lismon still on 0 in that Silver Cup leading BMW. That's impressive.
That is very impressive. Use more track.
So there is, in 3rd place, Dorian Boccolacci. Now, this Porsche is also looking very racy. The laps that it is doing, certainly at a comparable pace, the leaders, as they come across the line once again. Lullum leads the way, Neubauer 2nd, and that time Boccolacci does that car's fastest lap of the race. He is lapping fractionally quicker than the 2 ahead. He is catching, but the danger is he might get stuck.
Yes, I mean, that's the thing. We've seen this a lot where the car approaches the car in front. The pace might be half a second quicker, might be a couple of seconds, tenths quicker, but you just can't do anything with that pace. And we see the Lullum car there stretching the legs in front, just trying to keep within the track limits. All these corners in this area, they're safe. There's nowhere to really go. They've got to really watch out for Paddock Hill, turn 1 with the track limits. Exit of Graham Hill bend, so that's turn 3 essentially. There the 2. You see the Ferrari running wide over the dirt on the exit, but there's no track limit there because the white line, they just got to keep 2 sets of wheels, 1 set of wheels, the inside wheels inside that white line on the exit.
Well, certain parts of Brands Hatch that in terms of track limits are self-policing, aren't they? If you go off there, you're going to delay yourself anyway because you're straight onto grass and you don't get the same pace out of it. In terms of the fastest driver by class, Kelvin van der Linde is the fastest in Pro. The best of those in gold is David Pittard, BMW drivers both, and in silver, Simon Birch in his Porsche. Don't forget, much of that was done when he was being able to run in clear air earlier on. Kelvin van der Linde has done the outright best lap of the race now, and that is Kelvin van der Linde in 4th place. He's not going to catch Boccolacci for 3rd. Now the Patrick Niederhauser, Luca Enschler, Lamborghini being given a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So their troubled race continues as downhill again comes van der Linde.
So we've seen Pittard did have to stop for that, get that hoarding off the front of his car. Yeah. He's dropped down to, what, 3rd last now. So he was running mid-grid, sort of, what, 17, 18, until he picked up that hoarding on the front of his car, which blocked out the radiators, meaning the engine would overheat, so he had to make a pit stop for that.
And that's David Pittard, just gone through shot. His is the blue and white BMW running ahead of their Kelvin van der Linde. Meanwhile, what's going on in gold? Matthias Zagazzetta versus Louis Pret. Zagazzetta, who was a very rapid single-seater driver, the Peruvian, coming new to GT racing, and he's under attack from an experienced McLaren racer, namely Louis Pret. Behind the pair of them is Kobe Powerfuls in number 7 Aston. A really good run up the order from 31st on the grid. Pret looking to switch sides. Can't quite do it then as they dive now down through the right-hander of Westfield. So Louis Pret again tries to work out where the gap might be. Powerfuls in turn is coming under attack from Thierry Vermeulen. So you've got the Gold Cup leading battle, then another pro battle behind. Massive pressure here for Zagazzetta in the Ferrari, and Pret doesn't want to be defending from Powerfuls, he just wants to attack the Ferrari.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation, as you say, two classes of racing here. The Aston doesn't want the car behind getting by him, but he also needs to pass the other class which is in front of him, who are also having their squabble. So it's interesting from this position, it's interesting for us. For them, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see the net result of those few corners is that Zagazzetta pulls away by just over half a second as you look down from the drone at Paddock. Another great shot showing Brands Hatch looking absolutely fantastic this weekend up towards Druids. The white line there, the other side of which is the motorbike racing penalty line. If you get a penalty, you steer around that to take a longer lap, like a joker lap, down through Graham Hill Bend along Cooper Straight. And there, hovering over James Kells, 15th place McLaren, which in turn is under attack because there's a big dive there by Marvin Kirchhofer. What a move that was.
Yeah, fantastic move. Again, Kirchhofer, very experienced driver, very fast. He just took advantage there and was able to scythe his way through.
He possibly caught Kell napping a little bit. James thinking, well, he's not going to attack here. But now also Guillermo Oliveira in the Optimum McLaren comes up to have a go. That's Kobe Powerfuls. Remember, Nicky Team started this car 31st on the grid. It's now in 13th place overall. And Powerfuls going very nicely. he's somebody that just gets better and better and better the more mileage he gets. And from a motorsport family, his father a very good rallycrosser decades ago. Kobe Powell started in rallycross himself, but he's developing into a really fine GT racer.
So interestingly, now the McLaren in front is using more of the exit road there. He's maybe learned, okay, I need to speed through this corner, therefore I need to use all the track a little bit away from his apex here. This is a place to watch out for the track limits on the bottom of Paddock Hill. Into Druids now, hold the car tight on the inside, all the rubbers in there now, power on. Yeah. Visible mistake, there's very few places to overtake. You could try that dive into Surtees.
Look at the gap that Lulham has now pulled. Last time over the line, and we've got just under 10 minutes to go. It was one. The proximity of Neubauer. Now he's got away. Neubauer in turn is being given a hard time still by Dorian Borcolacci. There they are, second and third. In fourth place there, Kelvin van der Linde. Fifth there, Ignacio Montenegro. Good little Porsche battle there. Magnus Gustafsson's going through ahead of Tanat Satra and Tirakul, but that is your leader. That's Chris Lulham heading for a first outright win, and a good drive this.
Absolutely, you know, he's controlled after the pit stop. He controlled it well, and you know, the crew had vaulted him through with that extra 2 laps from Danny Juncadella. It vaulted them up the grid a little bit, and they've taken the lead. And yeah, he's done a fantastic job just to hold it. He was worried a little bit about track limits. He's got 3 now, I think, yeah, he's got it under control. He's got that gap, so he can just take it easy and just drive it home.
But car 3, a pit stop infringement noted. Now, something has happened in the pits for this car, the leading car. Here's the replay. Have a look at the back. The car leaves, and a mechanic was still running around the back, not over the white line behind which the mechanics need to be. That's where tiny little errors can cost you a win.
Well, yeah, I think that's written into the rules. It's black and white.
And there is the answer.
Yeah.
We're done.
So that information passed to Neubauer and to Borcolacci that, okay, you know, you might be running in second and third right now, but you might well inherit this lead. They've got to think about the potential penalty for this. There'll be a set figure. It could be a 5-second, it could be a 10-second, and so then maybe Lulham could, if he was be able to pull out more than 5-second gap, then potentially he could still win. If that was a penalty, I'm not sure exactly what it would be.
Well, wait and see. It has been noted. It will go to the stewards, chaired by Lewis Roby, who is the permanent steward for the championship. And Yves Bacalat and Greg Masters, the stewarding team, will look at it. They will decide first up whether there is an offence that's been committed, and then they will find the appropriate penalty. So, meanwhile, we have there David Pittard going through. Remember, he had to pit early on to get rid of that sponsor hoarding across the front. That cost him time. He's 31st, and David Pittard going nicely here in the Gold Cup in the BMW run by Peter Cox's new team, another hero of touring cars and GT racing of many seasons past, and single-seaters, in fact. He got as far as Formula 3000, didn't he? The car is 6th in the Gold Cup, but David Pittard, we know he's quick. Jörg Rapponge likewise, having come out of GT4. David Pittard specialises in the Nordschleife, lives near to the Nürburgring, and there are bits of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit that might be a bit like the Nordschleife, so he's going well on a similar sort of circuit. Good battle on here as well. That's Christopher Haas's Audi trying to get itself up the order. That was the car that started on the back row of the grid. He tries to make a move against Arthur Dorison. There's a good battle going on ahead. That was brave stuff, wasn't it? The Valkenhorst car of Mattia Villagomez round the outside of Anthony Bartone. Who says you can't overtake at Brands Hatch?
Well, that's it. If you can get onto that straight, what straight is that? That's Pilgrim's Drop. And if you can get through Surtees cleanly, you've got that chance to drive all the way around the outside. And we've seen it a few times. So yes, overtaking is possible. You just got to get it absolutely perfect and take a little risk here.
Yeah. Take your brave pills at breakfast. Yeah. So there you can see Haase, massively experienced Audi driver. He began in the Dacia Logan Cup, but apart from a season in a Lamborghini in Germany and a KTM in GT4, he's been an Audi stalwart through and through. Ferraris go toe-to-toe behind. Look, diving up towards the corner. Gilles Stoutsparder and Felix Hersiger there absolutely together. And it is Stoutsparder still just ahead for 20. Silva getting the palpitations up on the A, of course, a part of the pit wall. 5 minutes to go. 3 seconds clear. Chris Lallam. But we await further news about anything that car may have done in the pits. That's your silver order you can see on the graphic. Ignacio Montenegro's BMW leads Alex Malikin's Porsche, leads Guillaume Oliveira's McLaren. Good variety, because Aston Martin fourth and Mercedes fifth as well in class. So a race order now that we look, that we certainly didn't predict, and Thomas Neubauer might yet be on borrowed time for second place, because Dorian Boccolacci there, new to Brands Hatch, is going really well.
Again, another Nürburgring specialist driver, part of the Falcon team in the past. Very close. His Porsche is behaving very well for him as this race thing goes on. He's certainly got the pace over the Ferrari in front, because we see Lallam having pulled away from that Ferrari as well. So Ferrari beginning to struggle just a little bit. Boccolacci got the bit between his teeth. Perhaps not the straight line speed to come anywhere near doing it through here. So the Ferrari's just got to drive in a tidy manner now, hook up all those apexes, out to the exit, down Dingle Dell now, up to Sheen Curve. No chance to take right now. But believe me, he'll be thinking about his opportunity, and perhaps that opportunity is to come through Paddock and then have a go into Druids.
Yeah, Boccolacci tantalisingly close. It was 4/10 last time over the line. And remember, of course, that if there's any penalty in the offing for number 3 Mercedes that leads on the road, this could be your lead battle. So increasing importance for Boccolacci. A cheeky flash of the lights to try to unsettle Neubauer. But look how much real estate Calvin van der Linde is gobbling up behind them. That BMW getting closer and closer. That's Max Hesse running 6th, and he's catching the Ignacio Montenegro Silver Cup leading WRT entry. BMW's going better in the race than in qualifying, aren't they?
Absolutely. You know, this even with 3 minutes left, this race is not over yet, is it? The top 3 could definitely be impacted. I would think as well, with the time left, the stewards might well make a decision after the race rather than during the race.
Yeah, it's under investigation now. Car 3 pit stop under investigation, but it looks as though a penalty may be coming if it's being investigated by the stewards. And of course, what they would like is to be able to declare the result when they come across the line, not have people on the podium and then have to take trophies back.
Exactly. Yeah, that is a point, but they've got literally 2 minutes and 24 seconds left.
However, if it's black and white, man in the wrong place, then, you know, slam dunk.
They will have a set precedent as well. There you go.
5-second penalty. So it's but the car is 4.4 seconds ahead. Chris Lallam could yet win this even with the penalty. He has got to drive 2 more laps as qualifying laps. We've got 2 minutes to go as he comes up over the line. There will be 2 more laps out of this, and Neubauer may not yet.
4.8.
Yeah, he's not going to stay in touch, is he? So Lallam is still going to overcome the penalty. He still could be on for the race win as they go through Paddock Hillbound. 4.8 seconds effectively now is that margin. Neubauer will get the message. Push, push, push. Even if you're within 1,000th of that 5-second margin, you'll inherit the win. So Neubauer now, not that he's not trying anyway, needs to get away somehow from Boccolacci.
Probably going to have to clear that car in the next lap or so as well, the lapped car, which may hamper them if they catch out the wrong part of the track. Lallam's already passed. What is the time right now? 4.8, the difference between first and second.
Well, he's pulled another 10th, give or take, in sector 1. He's going to do it. He's going to clear that 5-second penalty. He was nearly there anyway.
We did talk about the Ferraris starting to struggle on pace and towards the end of this race. We've got Boccolacci. You know, that's the thing, he's fighting with Boccolacci now, and if he can come anywhere near, then he'll have to defend, and therefore he will lose more time.
Absolutely right. So Lallam's going to squeeze another lap out of the race, but he should be north of that 5-second margin. In fact, Lallam has just done the car's best second sector, so the message has got through. It's qualifying time, Chris. Push, 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 and he's responding.
Absolutely. You know, on a sporting side of things, it's, you know, it would be nice to see that car still win.
And the gap as they come across the line then will be Ferrari through, Porsche through, Is it going to be over 5 seconds? It is, 5.3 seconds. So Lallem has done it. He's cleared the penalty with a lap to go now. We're on the last lap. That's quite a drive by Chris Lallem. And if the message had got through in terms of there's a penalty, he's certainly not let that get into his head.
Well, that's it. Just, 3 laps ago, he was only 3 seconds ahead. So he's pulled a decent gap. That car is obviously longevity through the stint is right there underneath him, whereas the Ferrari behind Neubauer is maybe struggling slightly, and we've got the Porsche of Boccolacci right behind him, and as you say, Kelvin van der Linde closing right up on them. So it's not over for position 2, 3 and 4 yet.
Absolutely. Can we go back in time and edit out the bit where we wondered whether this car was struggling for pace early on, because it did drop a long way back, didn't it, in the first part of the first stint from the top 2, but now it is very much a rapid car. Mauro Engel's Mercedes AMG has taken the fastest lap of the race, but Chris Lallem here has done the absolute best middle sector on the last lap of the race. He is leaving nothing to chance, leaving nothing on the table. It's going to be a win for Verstappen Racing. It is going to be a first outright win for Chris Lallem. Chris Lallem and Danny Juncadella win race 1 of Sprint Cup for 2026. A delighted team. The Mercedes AMG team Verstappen Racing celebrate a first win. Thomas Neubauer is second for Ferrari. Dorian Boccolacci third for Boots and VDS and Porsche. Kelvin van der Linde fourth. Max Hesse fifth. Ignacio Montenegro is going to win in silver. 6th overall. Jordan Pepper is going to be 7th. Matteo Caroli 8th. Mauro Engel is 9th. Alex Malikin's Porsche should be 10th. And for gold, Matthias Zagazzetta is going to hang on to take the class win, and 11th place overall. A really excellent job there. 37 wins in sprint for Mercedes AMG. 9 of them have been at Brands Hatch, and a first win for the team for Verstappen Racing. Let's hear from a happy team.
Mate, checkered flag, you little beauty. Well done, mega effort. But pick up this lap, please. A full pick up on the in lap.
And the message getting through about pick-up to try and just add to the weight of the car, help with the ride height by driving over the marbles to get that, to try to stuck to the very hot tyres. But yeah, good strategy from the team, good stint by Juncadella, even though we got a bit concerned early on. And an epic.
Yeah, that's like fuel tank. Cars are getting old by then, and yeah, I guess he just got the hurry up from the team to say, listen, we could still win this. Yeah. So we need absolutely everything you've got. But yeah, going back to Juncadella's stint, it kind of looked like they were out of it about halfway through his stint, and he was dropping the pace compared to the 2 cars in front. But all of a sudden, he bounced back, and he was right back in the 2 extra laps before the pit stop compared to the 2 cars in front of him, and that gave the jump. Obviously, the pit stop itself was good enough to vault them into the lead. They had the safety car with Lallem in the car, and then he controlled the race, and he was able to just pull away. And towards the end, they're the fastest guy on the track.
Yeah, fantastic job done by the Mercedes AMG team, Verstappen Racing, and here as well, Tommaso Mosca and Matthias Zagazzetta coming home to win in gold. Zagazzetta knows Brands Hatch from racing here in junior single-seaters. He was runner-up in British F4 back in 2021, but this is his first full season of GT racing. Tommaso Mosca has been twice an Italian GT champion, so a good job done. That's the 2nd place Ferrari. Thomas Neubauer making his way now down the pit lane. So there for Parc Fermé come the cars. And we understand the stewards are busy trying to review everything that they've got so the right podium can be claimed. So we'll confirm the result as soon as we can. Thomas Neubauer has come up on the timing screen as the race winner, and Chris Lallem has been put to 15th place. And the reason is a drive-through penalty for a yellow flag infringement. There's a whole host of cars, but a drive-through penalty subsequently is, what, best part of 30 seconds of a time penalty added on. So Neubauer and Leclerc take the win after all.
Wow. And apparently it's not, we're hearing from the stewards that it's not even over yet. So there could be other cars affected by that as well.
Yeah, looking at others, Valentino Rossi, Max Hesse have been affected. Montenegro's Silver Cup winning BMW is being looked at. The
Yeah, it's changing right in front of our eyes.
It is, absolutely.
As the results get updated. So, yeah, after all that hard work from Lallam and his crew, they've ended up losing out in the end.
Looking to see whether it's doing anything in classes. It does. It changes the result of silver. Alex Malikin and Alexei Nesov win silver. And so far, so good in gold. Zagazeta and Tommaso Mosca are victorious. And now Chris Lallam gets the bad news. So on his in lap, he thought he was a hero. And now it's the bad news coming his way. It's the race that keeps on giving or taking away, depending on your point of view. But Chris Lallam then, like many, handed a penalty. I'm saying Chris Lallam because he was in the car at the end. Whether that yellow flag came in his stint or the stint of Danny Jonquidea, it is more likely, given when it's being reviewed, that it was the yellow flag while Chris Lallam was at the wheel, say in the second part of the race.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be very interesting if to be on a fly on the wall in that stewards room to see all the work they have to go through and all the infringements that take place, and yeah, it really can affect the race, which it has done in this case. But they also have to be very clear on whether that really did happen. But they've got a lot of technology in the cars nowadays, a lot of timing, and most of the time it's not even a case for the stewards. They just have to hand out the penalty. The penalty itself is automatically applied.
Yeah. Well, Thomas Neubauer takes his first win in the championship since he last won here at Brands Hatch in 2019. So it's a pretty kind circuit to him, although, of course, he would have loved to have taken the checkered flag first. But a win is a win is a win, isn't it? He'll be happy with that nonetheless.
Yeah.
And you can see number 3 being pushed away.
So I'm just looking down. Kelvin van der Linde would definitely accept the third place from his, was that 2, 4, 6, 8, was that
12th on the grid?
12th on the grid.
Yeah.
He'd have been very happy with that at the start of the day, but hey, there's more penalties on the way, we've heard, so
exactly.
Let's see what happens.
Let me offer you another crew that are going to be very happy. Nicky Tim and Kobe Powells are 10th. They nearly started in Maidstone. I mean, they were 31st on the grid. They were a long, long way back, so they've had a result, haven't they? Absolutely.
You know, they had nothing to lose, so they were able to approach the race in a different way than the guys at the front.
Yeah. Right. We think the winners, we'll confirm, are Thomas Neubauer and Arthur Leclerc. Arthur Leclerc taking a first win in the championship, and Nina Jade Paul is with our race winners. There's the trophy in front of the Ferrari, and Arthur Leclerc, I think, is there. So let's hear from him. The Ferrari team inherit a race win.
A win is a win. You did everything right today to put yourself in this position. Your first podium and first win in GT World Challenge.
Yeah, it's a great race. I felt like the first stint we had a really good pace. We were faster than the Porsche in front. It's a bit of a shame that we lost the position in the pit stop, and a bit of luck as well with the penalty in the end. It's not the way I would have liked to win, but a win is a win.
Congratulations, Arthur.
Thank you.
Close your eyes. Could be his brother talking, couldn't it? They sound so similar.
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Just to confirm, that drive-through penalty is converted into a 30-second time penalty if it has to be applied post-race. So Thomas Neubauer and Arthur Leclerc are your winners in the first Sprint Cup race of the season. And that was a race that had everything, didn't it? Dramas, good racing, some very brave overtakes, red flags, full course yellows, penalties, and a result changing right at the very end. Chris Lallam, I mean, how does he pick himself up for that for race 2, I wonder?
Well, I guess they'll analyse how and why that went wrong and what actually happened. But as a drive, it was faultless.
Yeah, true.
You know, apart from that one.
That one.
So, yeah, they'll go back, they'll look at the data, they'll find out exactly what went wrong and bounce back from that.
From first over the line to 13th for Danny Jonquidea and Chris Lallam. It's a win for Arthur Leclerc and Thomas Neubauer. Maurice Schöring and Dorian Boccolacci second, and Charles Witz and Kelvin van der Linde from 12th on the grid on the podium. Amaury Cordial and Jordan Pepper out of nowhere come fourth from Consta Lapalainen and Matteo Cairoli. And Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel in the end up to 6th. A silver win inherited for Alexei Nesov and Alex Malikin, and gold honours to Tommaso Mosca and Matthias Zagazeta. Lots of penalties costing people places, and in the case of Danny Jonquidea and Chris Lallam, costing them the win. Very dramatic a race, both on track and in the stewards' room, where quick reactions have had to be used to make sure penalties can be applied, to make sure we know a result at the very end, but it's a Ferrari win at Brands Hatch. Thomas Neubauer's first win since 2019 when he won here. First time out in the championship, and it's Arthur Leclerc's first victory in GT World Challenge Europe. And the good news is we do it all over again this afternoon, but that was a very dramatic start to the season, yeah?
For a 1 hour race, so much happened in that race, didn't it? So, yeah looking forward to race 2. I'm sure it'll be equally as exciting and hopefully a little bit less deemed to be in the steward's office.
Yeah.
Hopefully we just let the racing happen on track.
Less contentious, maybe. I'm still fascinated to learn more about this steering issue for the Lion Speed Porsche. We'll try and get to the bottom of that between races. But that's the car that will start on pole. Happy fans enjoying themselves opposite the pits, where you get a great view of the cars coming past, but also the hard work that the pit crews do. And a good result for Ferrari, because not only was it an outright win, but also a Gold Cup win as well. Mattia Sagazzetta and Tommaso Mosca winning that Gold Cup for AF Corse. So let's hear from them with Nina Jade Paul.
Congratulations on your Gold Cup win. And the Car 51 won this race last year as well. It sets the tone, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was quite a good race. We messed up a bit in qualifying, but in the race we were quite quick. So we will see in the race.
Really good debut in GT racing, making that switch away from single-seaters, got himself to Formula Regionale, Formula 3 level, tested with AF Corse at the end of last year's WEC season, but coming into GT World Challenge and a great start in Sprint Cup. So we'll get the drivers shortly to the podium, and there you can see a class-winning Ferrari. Good result for AF Corse, and we'll reset because, of course, the grid for race 2 is based on separate qualifying times rather than a race 1 result. And it'll be the same Porsche on pole position, hoping for better fortune. Alex Malikin and Alexei Nesov are your Silver Cup winners. They inherit the win, and they're with Nina Jade.
A class win in silver. Lovely day at the office. You've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, we are super happy, and especially on this track. This is when you drive this track, it's like you are like so cool rhythm, it's so old school track, it's a lot of people around and they everywhere. So yeah, just need to be a little bit more smart and calm down because race 2 is soon and we need to focus on that.
What have you learned from race 1 to carry forward to race 2?
You need to wait for your chances, basically. There's not many opportunities to overtake on this track unless someone does a mistake, even if you have a better pace. So race 1 will be definitely harder. We start further from the back, but also we don't know about the weather. If the rain comes, it's going to be a really interesting race.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
So well done to Alexei Nesov and Alex Malikin. And yellow flag infringements are what has cost these teams a good result. Let's look back on a dramatic opening race within GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup, which was led away from the pole position by the Lion Speed Porsche of Riccardo Fella. He had the advantage as they went through Paddock Hill Bend. Simon Birch had an early scare, 2 wheels on the grass. He just missed Robin Knutsen's Porsche, but later in the lap he wasn't quite so fortunate. There was contact between Luca Engschler and Mattia Michelotto as well. That turned Michelotto around, but worse was to come for Knutsen. Birch drilled him on the way to Sterling's. Barrier damage, a wrecked Porsche, and a red flag to sort out the mess. Robin Knutsen was okay. The cars came to the pit lane, and when we went racing once more, Fella started to build that lead. But gradually, a steering issue started to intervene, and he lost pace as further back, Charles Weerts made progress, going around the outside bravely of Dylan Pereira, who made a little mistake coming out of Sheen Curve. So the gap came down between Riccardo Fella and Arthur Leclerc. It was Porsche from Ferrari, and on the pit stop, staying out a couple of laps later than the leader, put Chris Lullen, taking over from Danny Junqueday, into the lead. Thomas Neubauer was second, and Bastien Bus had a problem with the steering issue, starting to cost that car big time and lots of places. Ultimately, number 80 would be retired. Bus unable to stem the tide of cars flowing past him, including Jordan Pepper, who pulled off one of the moves of the day to go around the outside at Hawthorns. David Pittard was a little bit unlucky to get roughed up and bring the sponsors hoarding back to the pit lane, as he had to do in order to prevent that car from overheating. Chris Lallam led. He had a 5-second penalty, though, for a pit stop infringement. He overcame that to clear the 5 seconds and win. But then, as he came to the pit lane, there was news of a 30-second penalty for a bunch of cars, including his, for a yellow flag infringement, giving the win to Arthur Leclerc and Thomas Neubauer. So this is how we look. The points, of course, effectively the race order as the drivers come across the line in this opening race of the year. So Leclerc and Neubauer on 16.5 ahead of Boccolacci, ensuring with Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts next. So a good start to the season for the Ferrari drivers. Of course, there are separate points allocations overall, as much as for gold and silver, with the next race in silver being this afternoon at Brands and the next event being Misano in July. In silver, Alexei Nesov are your leaders, from Mikey Porter, Guillaume Oliveira, with the very unlucky Matis Lismont and Ignacio Montenegro now third. Of course, they won on the track, but with their 30-second penalty applied, they fall to third. And in gold, it is going to be Matthias Zagazzetta and Tommaso Mosca who are the category leaders on points after a really good start to their season. Race 2 coming up later in the afternoon. More action still to come from David Anderson and Peter Dumbrecht from Brands Hatch. For now, though, it's goodbye. So the drivers coming to the podium. This is your overall podium, where Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde take third. Second place going the way of Dorian Boccolacci and Maurice Schuring. New to Brands Hatch both, so to get second place and a podium, a great result. And they're delighted, Thomas Neubauer and Arthur Leclerc, Ferrari drivers, to the top step of the podium here at Brands Hatch. A welcome return to the top step for Thomas Neubauer, and a very happy AF Corsa team. So Thomas Neubauer and Arthur Leclerc victorious in race 1. The national anthem was rather drowned out by the start of the Legends race, one of the local support races that is here. But drivers happy on the podium, and the trophies shortly to be presented. Steve Rouse from Pirelli steps forward, the GT3 chief engineer from the Championship's tyre provider. Trophies go to Kelvin van der Linde and to Charles Weerts, forgive me. Then to second place drivers Maurice Schuring and Dorian Boccolacci. So BMW third, Porsche second, Ferrari the winning brand. Trophies will go for the team to AF Corsa there, and then the winning drivers in the middle. All smiles. And it shows the importance not only of a quick car, but keeping out of trouble. Obeying the flags, obeying the rules. So 2 indiscretions from the Verstappen Racing squad, 1 in the pits and 1 on track. So another penalty ultimately doing for Chris Lallam and Danny Juncadella, and they will be very, very annoyed indeed. Drivers with trophies then hold those aloft, ready for photographs. And all smiles, Thomas Neubauer, who was a winner for Mercedes, now very much part of the Ferrari family. Came from the Ferrari Challenge, where he was the winner of the World Final. The family have a huge car dealership, car dealership network. And one or two not overly keen about getting soaked because they need their overalls for later on. But well done to our winning drivers in pro as they celebrate here on the podium. So what was looking as though it could have been a Porsche win after the dominance early on of Riccardo Fella, what looked like it might have been a ninth win for Mercedes ends up being a third win for Ferrari. And that is now the fifth time that a win has come from second on the grid here. 12 times the winning car has come from pole. And as the AF Corsa team celebrate, there's a lot to celebrate because there's the Gold Cup victory for the same team still to come as well. Thomas Neubauer and Arthur Leclerc ready to leave the podium. Let's see how good a day it is elsewhere for the Leclerc family. Arthur has set the bar pretty high. So Arthur Leclerc, Thomas Neubauer ahead on points in the championship from Dorian Boccolacci and Maurice Schuring, and then Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts in fourth. Jordan Pepper and Amaury Cordial are next, from Constant Lapalainen and Matteo Cairoli. Mauro Engel and Lucas are next. Alex Malikin and Alexei Nesov, even though they are scoring points in silver, and that's a separate classification, they still get points overall, as do the golds. Tommaso Mosca, Matthias Agazetta, plus the defeated Thomas Fleming and Louis Pret, who chased them home in second place in that race. So they are now, as I say, the runners-up in terms of points in gold. And gold and silver podiums still to come here at Brands Hatch. The fans now already turning their attention to other activities as the Pocket Rocket Legends work lap 3 already. They're hanging about on the timetable here. And drivers for the podium now step forward in gold. James Kell and Arthur Rougier make their way onto the podium. For CSA Racing, James has a huge amount of miles in the season. Louis Pret and Tom Fleming. Very, very rapid British driver, Tom, for second position. Tom, like Thomas Neubauer, another driver that's come out of the European Ferrari Challenge ranks. It is an AF Corsa win, however, for which the team is represented on the podium. And Matthias Agazetta and Tommaso Mosca step forward in order to congratulate their rivals and also to stand on that top step victorious after a really good drive. And some good driving, some good overtakes as well to get them up the order. So the winning drivers on the podium as the national anthem of the winning team is now played. So there for winning drivers. Trophies will make their way forward in a moment. And here at Brands Hatch, much for them to celebrate. Really good result for AF Corsa, taking an outright win and a Gold Cup win as well. Steve Rouse brings the trophies onto the podium. James Kell and Arthur Rougier for third position. CSA Racing switching from Audi to McLaren last year, getting a handle on the car instantly. They're more McLaren drivers. Tom Fleming and Louis Pret, who from a distance looks like, a bit like Mauro Engel, don't you think, is there for second in gold. And Matthias Agazetta and Tommaso Mosca will get the winners' trophies on that top step of the podium. So trophies aloft, champagne sprayed by a delighted team, and spare overalls required, ready for race 2. James Kell gets a bit of a soaking as well as drivers try and flee the podium. Arthur Rougier cops most of Louis Pret's bottle of fizz. And the cars and the drivers back out again later on in the day. For some, can't even get the cork out of the bottle. So slightly denied the opportunity to really celebrate on the podium. This is how we look in gold, though. Matthias Agazetta, Tommaso Mosca lead it from Tom Fleming and Louis Pret. James Kell and Arthur Rougier are third. Simon Gachet and Romain Andriolo are fourth. Mattia Michelotto and Loris Spinelli fifth, ahead of Jock Rapinge and David Pittard. And poor Robin Knudsen is down in seventh with Gilles Magnus. And, of course, that rather broken car, Alex Arca and Dylan Pereira, likewise, ending up in the gravel. So, good day thus far for Ferrari, but honours for Porsche does come In silver, where a win in class for Alexei Nesov and Alex Malikin. The second race at 3:45 this afternoon, so limited time for the teams to turn cars around. One does fear for that Boutsen VDS Knudsen Magnus Porsche, given how much damage had been sustained with all the impact on the left-hand side, the driver's side as well. That car not looking as though it's going to be seen again. So the Silver Cup drivers now come to the podium. Ignacio Montenegro and Mathis Lismont, after such what looked like an impressive drive on track. I think it's going to be a bit like Chris Lallam. Ignacio Montenegro is the second driver that has to take the rap for the infringement that's cost them the win. It's also cost them second. Second place taken then by Mikey Porter and Guilherme Oliveira, the Portuguese and English drivers. But for pure racing, it is a very, very happy team. Alexei Nesov and Alex Malikin take the win. Onto the podium they come. And huge amounts of racing has been done by Alex Malikin at a very high level since he started racing Porsche Caymans in Porsche Sprint Challenge GB a few years back. But he's on the top step of the podium here with Alexei Nesov as the Silver Cup winner at Brands Hatch. So podium done, and trophies will be presented to the top three teams. And there you can see for third place, Mathis Lismont and Ignacio Montenegro, very stony-faced after the win that got away. Then second place trophies go to Mikey Porter, Guilherme Oliveira, and the team's trophy to Pure Racing, effectively Alex Malikin's squad, with the winning trophies to the winning drivers, Alexei Nesov and Alex Malikin. Brands Hatch circuit manager Mike Lally hands them over, and happy drivers aplenty for the first and second steps, rather less so for third. But even so, the consolation is for Ignacio Montenegro and Mathis Lismont. It's points. Nobody seemingly overly fussed about champagne that is there, but I think some drivers just want to get away. So Alexei Nesov and Alex Malikin lead in silver from Mikey Porter and Guilherme Oliveira. Mathis Lismont and Ignacio Montenegro third from Jamie Day and Matteo Villagomez. Then Aurelien Panis and Anthony Bartone fifth, with the top six, Maxime Robin and Gaspar Simon. So race 2 will be lights out at 3:45 this afternoon local time. We'll be on air a little bit before that with all the build-up for more great racing in Sprint Cup.